What?
Opponent for...
that means we're live, folks.
All right. Awesome sauce.
Saving America one mind at a time. This is Smith Radio. And now, your hosts, Carrie and Brian Smith.
And that is the peaceful transfer of power. The 45th president of the United States is now Donald J. Trump.
He said, I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never let you down. So we do have some breaking news, because while it is about celebration, it is also now about policy.
Oh, that's right, Aaron. President Trump went right to work. He went right into the Oval Office shortly after he departed from the...
Is day two going to be as busy as day one? He met with business leaders. He met with union leaders. He signed a bunch of stuff. He fulfilled some campaign promises. What's left?
The pace over the past 10 days has been astronomical. Everybody in official Washington I talked to said, I cannot believe he's only been president for 10 days.
Dan, I think you got to admit they did a pretty impressive job rolling out this nomination.
This is how it's supposed to be done. I mean, this is done to the T. Actually, even more so than we've seen in the past. We're seeing the markets react positively. It is better than expected.
Consumer confidence rocketing to a 16-year high.
Healthy job growth again for the month of February. So is this the Trump effect?
I think it is. I think there's no question that employers like Donald Trump a lot in his agenda, and I think the fact that he's just more pro-business from the previous administration.
The Dow still nearing all-time highs, just finishing the longest quarterly winning streak in 10 years.
Was by far the best speech I've ever heard Donald Trump give. It was one of the best speeches in that setting I've ever heard any president give.
He's repairing relationships with Egypt as well as with Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states. You know, you saw Trump yesterday talk about Iran violating the spirit of the nuclear deal. So this is clearly part of a long-term strategy to reorient American foreign policy.
The bottom line is he's done well. He has done a lot of the things he promised, like appointing a Supreme Court judge, like getting out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, like cutting regulation.
But he's done a really good job.
Well, he's pretty close to perfect, Sean. I'm serious.
He has done more than any president in recent history, certainly in the last half century, in the first 98 days of his presidency.
I am asking all citizens to embrace this renewal of the American spirit. I am asking all members of Congress to join me in dreaming big and bold and daring things for our country. I am asking everyone watching tonight to seize this moment, believe in yourselves, believe in your future, and believe once more in America. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the United States.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. That was, and I will give credit where credit is due, Mark Dice. At Mark Dice put that soundbite out at Donald Trump. What an incredible 3-minute sound clip that kind of sums up Donald Trump for the past 100 days. And you are listening to Smith Radio with Brian Smith and
Carrie Smith.
Giving you all the – what we do is we go throughout the entire week. We wrap up all the news, all the information that you missed, that you didn't hear, that you should have heard. We put it all together, and we start to dice it apart, and we analyze it, and we tell you what it all really means. And so you can get fired up about it. So when you go back to work on Monday, the next day, you know what the media is going to say. We are the show prep for everybody for the week to come.
We have an exciting one this week.
Yeah, this week is an incredible show, just like most of our shows, pretty incredible. But this is a really, really good show. We have a firecracker of a lawyer, Joni Turner. If you're not following her on Twitter, you absolutely should, at Joni Turner Law, L-A-W. And
it's spelled Joni too, so make sure that you guys get that. Yep.
And so I was speaking with her earlier today, and she was talking about, oh yeah, I've been on Twitter for about 90 days. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's quick. She's blowing up.
She's catching up to me, and I've been slaving away for 7 months to get 8,500. Anyways, it's all good. But so we have her on. She's going to talk to us about some really, really important things that are going on in
fake news, really.
Fake news in the law world. I know everybody's tired of being called a racist, bigot, homophobe.
A Nazi.
And a Nazi. I know we're all tired of that, and she's going to come on and talk to us about that here in just a couple of minutes. And in the third hour at 7 o'clock, we are slated to have Paul Nealon come on board. He's going to come in. He's the businessman, CEO, capitalist individual, Trump supporter, Make America Great guy that's run against Paul Rhino Ryan up there in Wisconsin.
The Speaker of the House, the Rhino of the House.
And he is actually, I don't know if he knows that he's coming on, and what he's going to talk about is actually going to dovetail into everything that's going on now, because he's going to expose the deep state.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
He's going to expose Paul Ryan. He's got a lot of contacts in the House and the Senate, and he's going to talk to us about some really inside ball game, if you will.
Oh, I can't wait. So first up,
we got Joni. Joni, are they there on the line? We got her on Skype right now.
Hey, I'm here, guys. How are ya?
Incredible.
Great. Awesome. So
happy Sunday to you.
Oh, happy Sunday to you. So let's just get right into it. So you are a lawyer who is getting fed up with what you're seeing on fake news, and can you give us an idea of what was the thing that got you going on what you're trying to do, and what is it that you're going to do about it?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I'm an American that's pissed off. I just happen to have a legal career, but I'm American that's pissed off about what's going on. And luckily, because of my profession, feel like that I have a little bit of gasoline to go and make a difference with the help of people on Twitter. And here, Craig, before I say that, you guys were talking about Paul Ryan. I don't know if you saw CNN's advertising that they're doing for him on his town hall coming up. Did you see that?
I did not see that.
I didn't see that, but Paul Nealon.
I got it for you. I'll pull it up here before long. CNN has been running full-time ads to join Paul Ryan in his hometown meeting. Now, come on. CNN, if Paul Ryan was a Republican, do you think CNN would be advertising for him?
Yeah, he's just totally Rhino. That would be Republican in name only. There's a lot of people, and Paul Ryan would be one of the leading ones, they're pretty much behaving as a Democrat would. They're voting like a Democrat would. They're attacking our people the way a Democrat would. They are our enemies the way a Democrat is, and yet they get to keep an R next to them. And not to get off topic here a little bit, Joni, but I do want to point out that in our previous episode, it would be the very previous episode from this that we did 2 weeks ago, and go on there last week because of the Dixie MAGA. If you listen to that, we did an interview with a Timothy Schwartz about having to deal what we should do to deal with these rhinos and how we can take back the Republican Party from the rhinos and make it more of a Trump-friendly party, if you will. But getting back to that tells right that. So,
I was holding that up here. I don't know if you guys can see it on my Skype. That's the actual ad that they're running.
Describe it. Yeah.
I tweeted it out, and I'll tweet it out to you guys.
Okay.
But it just says Paul Ryan Town Hall, moderated by guess who? The lying flapper trapper. Can you believe that? Jake Trapper.
Oh, no.
Like, you can believe anything that comes out of that trap.
No,
okay,
you can't.
Anyway.
You can't. Jake is all fake. Matter of fact, I'm honored. Brian Smith here on Smith Radio, absolutely honored to be blocked by Jake Tapper.
Oh, wow. That takes not much work, but okay, so getting back to what we're trying to do here. The thing is, and if you look at our show from 2 weeks ago with the interview with Timothy Schwartz, what you'll find is we're trying to do the things with other people, with the help of our fans, with the help of people that want to make a difference. They make America great again. They want to join forces with us to try to fix all the problems with the country. So what you're doing is another thing that can be used to help make America great again. And one of the things, it seems like, a lot of people that are listening to us right now listen to your very first scope that you ever did, which went totally viral for a first scope. That's really rare. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Have you, Brian?
No, I've never seen a first scope that go that viral.
Yeah, it just kind of had a life of its own. I actually had several people tell me, hey, you got to see this woman's scope. It's her first scope ever. It's really awesome. And I said, I know this woman. So full disclosure to everybody, Joni and I have met. So we know each other.
Timothy Schwartz. Timothy Schwartz was all over your Periscope,
right?
And sent it to me, and said, Brian, Carrie, you guys have to get this woman on your show.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I know Jody. I could give her a call.
You know what? That's fabulous. And I put out I'm sorry. I said I was in the right place, even though the camera angle was at that time.
Well, that's okay.
No, listen, Carrie, I agree with you. You know, this whole thing, if you compare it to an elephant, if we start, you can't eat an elephant in one bite. If you've got about 40 people, one starting at the trunk, one at each leg, one at the tail, and we're all taking our little bites at it, it's going to be brought down a lot faster. And you had asked me what got me up from the couch, just thumb fighting this with Twitter, and really a call to action. And it was Michael Moore's interview the other night. Did you guys have a chance to see that on CNN?
I did see a little bit of it. Real quick, Joni, for all of you folks that are listening right now, either on Periscope or on Spreaker or Spreaker page, you can go there live Sunday, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. And the quick link that'll take you there is smithradio.info. And we are interviewing Joni Turner. It's at Joni Turner Law, L-A-W, on Twitter. Absolutely follow her. She's having a skyrocketing following on Twitter, and her periscopes are very, very, very sharp and have gone viral because of the information that she's
she's
putting
a lawyer, and it sounds like she is going to take things in her, the law in her own hands.
That's what we've been talking about on the show for the past few weeks with Timothy Schwartz talking to us about how to take over the GOP, and now we have Joni here with us. She's gonna talk to us about what she's doing to combat all the lying, hateful rhetoric that's coming from mainstream media, coming from Hollywood elites. What is your plan that you are involved in right now, Joni? Kind of educate our.
Well, she was just asking about the Michael
Moore
thing.
Moore.
Yeah, Michael Moore. So explain to everybody what it was that set you off about Michael Moore.
Well, I'll tell you. I've been listening to this with all of you 24/7, and watched it just increase. Less and less news, more and more only name calling, more and more targeting. And so you get so frustrated. Everyone on Twitter is so frustrated because they're like, what can we do? And as a lawyer, I'm sitting there going, man, they're a news organization. They're supposed to be a bona fide, which is it's going to be an important word in our case. However, so on comes Michael Moore. Okay, Now Michael Moore's not in a good mood when he comes to CNN that night, okay? For two reasons. One, he's been toting around that 900-pound mouth and that 400-pound belly all day in the New York heat, okay? And it's late. But that's not only it. His show that was supposed to, his show in New York that started that night, it bombed, okay?
Okay.
And, they had bussed all those protesters, all those radicals, all the way from Virginia to South Carolina, and then nobody would come to his show, so I guess they just bust them all up there to have free seats to his show because that's the only way they could get anybody to come. So Michael Moore is not in a good mood, okay? So he sits down with Don Lemon, and immediately he says, you know what? We're just going to need to cut to the chase here, Don. He says, I'm tired of beating around the bush. He said, we're going to call it like it is. He said, Donald Trump, he said he's a racist, he's a bigot, he's a white supremacist, and anybody who is a Trump supporter, here's his quote, is nothing but a complete racist. He goes on and says, but I'll tell you what, if you fall down on your knees tonight and repent, you can have redemption. But if you don't change tonight and stop supporting Donald Trump, you are a racist. And he said, and I'll tell you something, you are no better than a rapist.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
I jumped. Okay. Now, and I thought I misunderstood him because, racist, rapist kind of sounds alike. And he said, you're no better than a rapist, because if somebody sits by and watches somebody rape someone and allows it, then you're a rapist. And what he was doing is drawing that analogy that Donald Trump was a rapist, raping the United States and all of our history, and that all Trump supporters were rapists. And that it was the catalyst that got me off the couch and onto action about this.
Right. Well, I think the thing that really resonates with what you were saying is that people are seeing people every single day almost, or at least a couple times a week, who are just innocent bystanders. Like, you pointed out on your last scope about the woman who was holding up a giant American flag, and all she was doing was standing there holding it up. And to be honest with you,
72 years old.
Yeah, so 72-year-old woman holding up an American flag, and somebody tried to yank it from her, and to her credit, she decided, oh, hell no, I'm not about to let go of this flag. And she apparently the person who tried to take it from her was really determined and decided that she was going to hold on to it no matter what. Ended up getting drug all over the place, holding on to this flag, and whoever was trying to take it from her was determined to take it. And it was just disgusting. And when people see that, I think what really resonated with what you were saying was that isn't there some responsibility on the part of those out there in the media or people who have a bully pulpit going out there saying that if you support Donald Trump, you are a Nazi. And if you're a Nazi, you have the same amount of risk as the Nazis in the 30s who went on to gas 6 million Jews and cause World War II. And it's crazy. You hear all these your average liberal would say that if they could go back in time to when Hitler was an infant, they would say, yes, I would kill the infant Hitler because it would save all those lives.
100%.
Yeah, and so they see us as the coming of this rise of Nazism of some sort. And we're all like, we're not even Nazis. What the hell are you talking about? It's like the biggest straw man argument you've ever seen in your life. And when 71-year-old women who are doing nothing more than holding up an American flag get assaulted and beat up and whatnot, it kind of makes you wonder if anything is going to be done to those who are really responsible. And that is the people at your CNN, your fake news, whatever, who are creating the fake straw man. And then that's...
And the thing is that it's their fake narrative. What they're doing here is, and in our laws, if you were going to send some hate speech to someone or threaten someone, there's a word in there, and it says it has to be imminent. Okay. And so you can tell these guys have lawyered up and think that they are going to hide behind either we're protected hate speech or that happened 2 hours after our broadcast. We don't, that wasn't imminent. We don't have any responsibility in that. But it's so not true, because what they've overlooked is that our laws are not static, and our laws change, and they are molded and bend with the times. And because of the internet, we have had to open up a new can of laws, as you might say, that create crimes that go on and that are targeted at groups or at individuals through the media. And how this all came about is mostly from high school bullying, and we've heard the horrific stories of a high school getting together, a group mobbing, on the internet of someone, and then they kill themselves.
Right.
Well, when you really read the law and the complicity laws, you know that what CNN is doing is exactly putting a target on our back. And listen, I mean, it goes further than that. I've done probably over 100 hours of research, and my two people that are researching with me, both 100. We have connected them directly with the Southern Poverty and Law Center. Okay, and the Southern Poverty and Law Center, they are the group, and I please urge all of your listeners just to go. You guys, you want to be flabbergasted. Go in and pull up just the website for the Southern Poverty and Law Center. Type in SPLC, and it'll tell you exactly it tells you who to hate. It gives you a map of them, and it tells you where their addresses are. It's got a lot of our pastors on there individually. And what CNN does is CNN even published this hate map on their broadcast and called it a CNN hate map. Wow. And so what's happening is they are pin targeting and calling to action, and then all these radical groups are being bussed in, and then we are getting wham blasted. And you know what? It doesn't even have to be a group. I've got 2 clients right now. One ran off the road, wrecked his car because of a Trump bumper sticker, and the other one literally had almost a sprang neck because the 2 guys pulled his Trump hat off.
Wow! And folks, you're listening to Joni Turner. Please follow her on Twitter at Joni, Joni, Turner Law, Law. She's a lawyer, and she's taken legal action against what our Periscope folks have referred to as Michael Moore should be referred to his weight in tons. Not pounds.
I like that.
Wow.
So,
wow.
She's live with us right now on Skype, and she's talking to us about all the things that the media, because we scream and yell at the media when we know they're lying, when we know that they're calling us names that are not true.
Ad hominem attacks,
and it seems,
guilt by association, all the above.
Right, and it seems like the media is above the law in the sense that they can literally say anything and everything they want with no fear of retribution, no fear of libelous. I mean, seriously, no fear of libelous at all.
It's interesting that you point that out. I was under the understanding from your first scope, Joni, that you were trying to go after them for libel, which makes sense to me at the time, but I'm not a lawyer. It made sense because when they say that if you support Donald Trump, you are a Nazi. And I know that normally in libel there has to be some sort of a financial loss or something, but it seems like there's people that are having their cars run off the road because they have a Trump bumper sticker. They're being assaulted in the streets or at rallies because they appear to be supporting Trump. And their argument is, as well, CNN told me that it was that you guys are Nazis. And so it seems like it seemed to me originally you were going to go after them for libel because there has to be some sort of, I guess they're liable for that.
But what it is, it's defamation.
Okay.
And under defamation, they commit both libel and slander. Slander is the spoken word and libel is a written word, which it's both for them. The interesting and that will be a cause of action that we bring against them.
Oh, good.
However,
good.
The interesting thing about that is that it's been kind of accepted and in all of the states that a large group really cannot claim defamation of an individual. Now, we're going to try to argue that and change that also,
Gotcha.
Because they are defaming. But the real threat right now is that we are really under a physical and emotional.
Certainly, absolutely.
It's you talk about distress and about the defamation. I would like to know and the people on Twitter that are going to really have to help us out here, because I want to know how many people have gone in and even been asked, what is your political leaning? Are you to the right and to the left? Look at just what happened at Google. Okay, the situation that happened at Google, which is another thing that, if you mind that, CNN has splashed all over, and I'm reading it right now. White nationalists are planning 9 rallies nationwide this weekend, and they're calling us white supremacists, and that they were calling for all of their radicals to figure out where we're going, and they put a map of this. And all it is conservatives that want to have freedom of speech. They are picketing for this young man that was let go by Google, because that he said that women have a different place in the women have a different part in the workplace than men. What he said is so true. But then he got fired.
And also, don't mean to put any words in his mouth, but I think that what was said that he said was different than what he actually said. And I urge people, and I'll bring this up multiple times during the show, that whenever somebody says that you say something, or that if CNN says that someone said something, you should go and read or listen to the actual quote, because they are out there lying. So I know that there were a lot of reports about this guy from Google saying that he said certain things about women which were completely false. And so So I urge people to actually read his 10-page manifesto, because that's absolutely
he's a great kid too. I've read up on him, and I even gave him a call, and he called me back, and I've missed his call. He's a great kid. And let me tell you something. These women and stupid. Okay, I don't know any women besides Rosie O'Donnell. Let me put this. I don't know any women that shave under their arms or their legs that get rise at all about somebody saying that women are different than men. We are.
Oh yeah. Okay? I mean, Brian and I have daughters, and
they're no different than me.
No, we have daughters, and I'm a wrestling coach, and it's like it would be fun if she said, "Daddy, I want to wrestle," but for whatever reason. Maybe it was just bad luck.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to have anything to do with going out there and getting into a hand-to-hand combat situation with another person.
And my 9-year-old and 8-year-old daughter are now realizing that their 4-year-old brother they can't mess with him anymore. It's just and
they don't understand why he does things that he does.
They don't.
They're
get
different.
It. They don't get. They don't understand it. He's like, play with me, and just they can't do it.
Right.
And it's not saying that if they wanted to do that, they couldn't and guessed at it.
Right. I would have been thrilled if my daughter said, "Hey, can you teach me how to wrestle?" But she has no interest in that. And there are some girls that are interested in that, but on average, girls are way different than boys. Period.
All that I'm saying, I don't know if you guys listen to Terrence Williams, but he is so spot on. He just goes right after them on his podcast about throwing the word racism around and feminist. Back to what we were talking about CNN. You cannot believe a thing CNN says. Not one thing. I'll say this. I know that I'm not. But the worst thing an attorney could have. I'm in front of, and I'm going to steal this line from. Oh gosh, I can't remember who said this, but I'm in front of 12 dumb people every day on the jury, and they're what? Well, they were dumb enough that they weren't smart enough to get themselves jury duty.
Oh my God.
That's why I said, you guys are bright heart. But the bottom line is that the worst thing that I want in any case is one eyewitness, because if you get 2 or 3 eyewitnesses, they're going to have a different account of what CNN does. I will watch the same exact news that they watch. I'll go and listen to their reporting. I'll be like, oh my God, I don't know that, because you know what? They're liars. Plain and simple, they're liars. They've got an agenda, and they will mix and make anything to fit in their agenda.
Right. So not getting too far off the track here. So are you try libel? Because today it sounded like
what I did, Carrie, is that I after researching, we will include defamation and libel and slander in the lawsuit.
Okay.
But I think the most meat is going to be on this online menacing and bullying.
Okay.
That I found, and I want to read it to you and your listeners
out
there. This menacing says that no person through the use of any electronic methods of remotely transferring information via computer or any network program shall post or speak a message with a purpose to urge or incite another to commit a violation of a crime or harassment against another.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty clear.
Wow, yeah,
that's pretty. I mean, that sounds to me like if you're,
that's like the 23rd Psalm in the Bible. I mean, you can't mix it up.
Yeah, so let it be written, so let it be done. It's like chiseled in stone or something. I mean, that sounds pretty clear.
And to back it up, we've got a huge and very strong complicity and accomplice liability law. That, Don Lemon doesn't have to be out there, the one hacking the woman in the head with the flag.
Right.
But if he has done anything on media or through a computer or television to incite that to happen, he gets the same penalty as the guy hacking her in the head.
Well, does that include over the airwaves, or I guess it would be considered electronically? CNN is through the cable. How is that different than the internet? Or how, I mean,
it's over any airwaves.
Okay, so that would certainly include a network like CNN.
Yes. Now, you know what they're going to say, and especially I went and did a lot of research on Georgia law. And Georgia's law says unless you are employed and in the and you're doing your bona fide job, okay? And what a bona fide means, you're doing it authentically and there's not a undercurrent going on.
Well, I think...
And so they're not going to be able to hide behind that because they haven't had bona fide news in at least 2 years.
Well, not only that, Joni, not only that, but WikiLeaks has proven that they're in bed with the Clintons, and the Clintons and Podesta are all in bed with mainstream media.
And Project Veritas, that James O'Keefe over there busted them for spreading fake news for ratings and calling, or basically making news out of, quote, a nothing burger.
Well, in that time that we were in the hotel room when James O'Keefe released that information about
CNN leaks.
Yeah.
They were doing they were doing fake news there. They were using polls from months earlier in order to report results that they wanted. They used polls from different times, and they passed them off as polls that were current.
Let me tell you, all the way back from who gave the talking points? What was her name? Gave the talking points to Hillary Clinton from CNN.
Brazil,
Donna Brazil.
Brazil, there you go. ODB. And let me tell you.
Oh, do we have a Wu-Tang fan in here? We have a Wu-Tang fan in here. The ODB.
ODB in the house.
Okay.
But let me tell you guys, though, how we get to the big, we want to take down Don Lemon, but Don Lemon's only worth a couple million. We want to get to the back office money. Okay. And I'll tell you why we can't. It's because we have evidence galore of the atmosphere that they create over there. Okay, Kathy Griffin, who held the head of our wonderful president.
How is she not in trouble for something? Anything?
Yes, she is. But listen, she was employed with CNN as an independent contractor. The one guy who ate the human brains that they got rid of called our president a piece of. You remember who I'm talking about?
Yeah, AZUA or something. Azusa, whatever. Yeah, he's been released.
Well, one of his claim to fame was he went to Africa and ate human brains. Right. And I swore that over there, I said, CNN didn't fire him. I said he was just starving to death because he's a cannibal eating brains and he couldn't find any food over there. I'm serious. So he just starved to death at CNN and they had to say they fired him.
Oh, my gosh. That's probably what happened.
But the bottom line is that the atmosphere, the guys with the big bucks is who you always want to get to. And they've created, we've got it documented galore that this is their platform. And it is going to be, listen, guys, it's not going to be easy. And what I'm going to need after next Periscope is we're going to set up, and I'll set up with you guys, a website where people can go to, and they're actually going to be the plaintiffs and sign up.
Yes.
So,
wow.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I was telling everybody to share this. I don't care if you're listening on Spreaker right now, if you're listening on the cast or the scope that Brian's doing, Brian P. Smith. You got to share this and get people to come to the future website is what you're saying. You're going to have a website made in order to sign up.
We'll have a website for just that where there'll be a form on there because in a class action lawsuit, everybody has to sign in their own signature and they have to put their name and address and their phone number. Because, if not, you could just go through the phone book and write it down,
Right.
I think CNN's tried that a couple times.
I'm sure.
No, actually, somebody at the DNC got in trouble for that. That's how they got on the ballot.
I am not surprised. I mean, look at who was that comedian that was in a diaper holding a teddy bear that's now a politician?
Stuart Smalley.
Yeah, Stuart Smalley. I mean, he stole that election by hook and by crook, and then Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, she also stole that election down there too.
Yeah, it's a bunch of voter
fraud.
Oh
my gosh, Elizabeth! Don't even get me started on.
Uh-oh, we didn't mean to go off on a tangent.
Don't get me started on her trying to get the Indian. They get so much social benefits. Right. You get free dentistry. Did you know that?
Oh no, my sister-in-law, if you will, just for short story, my sister-in-law is collecting benefits because she's quarter chip tall.
Oh, I had a friend in my online gaming world that was like. I think he told me he was like 1532s.
And you still
for
get,
their seconds.
Yeah, you get something on that.
I think it's even 2%. You can get it's amazing.
He was able to connect to a Native American officially somehow, and he is an official, or I should say, a professional. He's a professional student. He gets unlimited for the rest of his life tuition. So he's going to spend the rest of his life in college.
That's amazing. And Senator Warren, look at the women in charge. Senator Warren, Maxie Pad Waters is what I call her. Maxie Pad Waters. If you've read any of my,
so
God, she just drives me crazy.
Oh my
and Pelosi, look at those three women that, if the Democrats want to go anywhere besides down in flame war, they got to get those three women out in front of cameras. Come on.
Yeah, sure, certainly. I mean, he's up there recorded saying anything. I mean, you even mentioned, I think it was Johnson. Johnson was the one who said that if we put too many soldiers on Guam, it's going to capsize. So anytime you get people to say anything on camera, it's always going to be a good thing for politics for conservatives. So,
what about Miss Senator from Iowa? Boy, she's going to get Miss Chappelle. She's going to get the governor's call. Said, if you won't resign, we're going to repel you out. That's exactly what he said. Wow. You know who I'm talking about? Marie Chappelle Nadell, who called for President Trump's assassination.
Right. Just
right.
Like a day or two ago.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, and she says, first she says, I'm not apologizing and I'm not taking it down, and then she said, it was free speech. Well, yeah, she's found out how free she's out of there.
Right.
I hope so. I mean, you can't just be saying stuff like that. I mean, we're
brought
free
up the story, and you've talked about the story again. Bring up the story about the news mogul that got the president killed.
Oh, right. So William Randolph Hearst. I don't know if you ever did any research or any history on any of this, Joni, but he was like the Bill Gates of the time. He was a multi whatever. I don't know if they had billionaires back then, but he was like the richest man alive. But he almost had a monopoly for the most part with this network of newspapers across America back in the 1800s, late 1800s, and he didn't like McKinley. And so he started having all of his writers at all of his different newspapers across the country start to call for, him to be killed and all this. And finally, somebody was writing that somebody should put a bullet in his head. And next thing you know, somebody put a bullet in his head. And all of a sudden, everybody was, calling for him to be arrested. But this was before you weren't allowed to do that. Back then, it was like, hey, free speech is free speech. And so it wasn't like he was in any legal trouble by doing that. But I think what happened is the public sentiment was that he was responsible for it indirectly by having all these newspapers. Because all it takes is one crazy person, right? It just takes one crazy person.
If you really want to look back, JFK, Abraham Lincoln, they tried to assassinate Ronald Reagan, and you know what? They want to say that we're crazy for saying that it was a conspiracy or somebody set that up. Let me tell you something, okay? They do it, okay?
They know that there's a crazy guy out there.
Killers. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, no, a crazy guy. There's a crazy network, CNN, and look at the crazy women.
Right.
I'm telling you, the women out there anymore, I'm more afraid of than the men. The men don't have any balls anymore. The women, the feminists, they're the ones that's toting the big mouths and the guns. And trust me, women are crazy. I know I am one. And then you put liberal on top of that.
You don't want to discredit yourself this early.
Hey, folks, you're listening to Smith Radio with Brian Smith and Carrie Smith, and we have an incredible guest on.
A firecracker.
We're live on Periscope at Brian P. Smith. Follow Carrie takes care of the handle. I was like manhandles.
I don't know what that's out.
At Smith Radio on Twitter.
And
then we have Joni Turner on, and she's a lawyer on Twitter, Joni Turner Law, LAW. And there's tons and tons of people on our scope right now, Joni, that are saying, I love Joni.
Yes. And that's the thing. Make sure you guys are following her Periscope. And if you ever have trouble, Periscope is so bad. Sometimes it's hard to find people.
You can't find people on Periscope.
It's really simple. It's really simple. On your phone's browser, you go to periscope.tv/Joni Turner Law. And that will take you to the screen that enables you to follow her. And by the way, I had to explain this on the scope on the way up here. The notifications on Periscope are by default. They're by default. So you don't have to click on the little bell like you do on YouTube. On YouTube, when you subscribe to somebody, you have to click on the bell in order to also get notifications. However, on Periscope, it's by default. So if you click on the bell after you follow somebody, you actually undid the notification. So don't do that. So anyway, yeah. So it's
that's
a quick question, Joni, from one of our listeners on the Periscope. Is there a law that was broken, or is there any what is the statute? What is the thing that would get someone in trouble for calling for the assassination of a sitting president?
Oh, well, I mean, it's that in itself is a federal law that you cannot call for assassination of any of your leaders. And I don't have the exact federal statute in front of me right now, but it also is, that right there, and it is also, it's under some of our terrorist laws. And I'll try to look that up while we're online here. Yeah, but it is a federal law that if you call for the assassination or a killing of a sitting leader, that it's a federal law. I mean, it's punishable by a lot, and especially if you're in a Senate seat. I mean, this is a senator, okay? We're not talking about Snoop Dogg, okay? Even though she looks a lot like him. Wow. We're talking about a senator that's called for the assassination of our president.
Right, an elected official calling for another elected official to be assassinated.
That's problematic.
It's beyond reprehensible.
Because if you believe that these people are in their position because they're a leader, then you've got to think that their words probably have more weight. They've gotten to where they've gotten because of their leadership. And so it's very scary when somebody with that amount of power and sway over their constituents is out there advocating for something so violent and so reprehensible, and it's just really bad that we've gotten to this point.
Really, I went on her web before it was taken down. I mean, listen, she's going to disappear. Trust me. The governor's told her, and actually, you can be convicted of a crime but still stay on the Senate and that.
Yeah, because they would just let you out of jail for every time that you need to vote, and then you go back and check in.
Yes,
if you go to prison as a sitting senator, you get let out with probably some shackles and an orange jumpsuit.
There's a senator on trial right now as we speak. It starts tomorrow for bribery.
Okay.
And if he's convicted, he can still serve on the Senate. He doesn't naturally lose his Senate seat.
Okay,
it's all constitutional. It's all constitutional.
Let me ask you this, Joni. Is the senator on trial, is he a Democrat, Republican, Independent? What is he? Do you know?
Yes. What do you think he is?
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, my verdict.
He's a CNN Democrat.
Yes,
there
you go. There you go. No, definitely. So, everybody, folks, go to Twitter and follow at JONI Turner, LAW Law, and you will get
Joni
all
Turner
of
Law.
Joni Turner's tweets,
and follow her
her
on,
insight.
The big thing about Joni, though, is the Periscope.
Right. No, her first Periscope that she put up just this past week, absolutely incredible. I looked on your Twitter account, and it's pinned at the top, folks. So please go to at Joni Turner Law on Twitter. You can view her first Periscope. It's not very long, not long at all, and very insightful. It's very on point. My wife watched it, and she took notes so that she could talk to me about it. It's like,
I love her.
Yeah.
Hey, let me just tell your audience this. Threatening the President of the United States is a felony under United States Code Title 18, Section 871. There you go.
That's it. That's it right there. No, awesome.
It's USC Title 18, Section 871, and it's a felony, Ms. Chappelle.
Is anybody going after these people, though? I mean, whose job?
Oh, trust me.
Whose job is it to go after these people?
Well, it's first of all, it's the prosecutor. So what'll happen is that someone will make a charge. They'll file a charge against her. It's a federal crime. And
you say they? Are you talking about like the Attorney General?
Well, the Attorney General can go after her in her state. The federal prosecutor, can go after her because it's a crime that she did. It's not something, everybody's witnessed it.
So you're talking about like the local state, the state AG?
Or federal.
No, it's federal.
Oh,
no.
Federal AG.
Crime. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This would not be a state crime. Threatening anybody who's in office is a federal crime. And that way, they'll lock you up good.
No, that's awesome. Also, I come to mind quite often because I find humor in the former mayor of D.C., Marion Barry. Did anybody remember him?
Oh, heck yeah.
He was reelected from jail.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, for he was the one that was buying and smoking crack with FBI agents, went to jail, and got reelected from jail.
Oh, my goodness.
Now that we've seen Comey his performance, it doesn't really surprise me that much.
So we have a website that's coming that's going to allow people to sign up to be a part of the class action lawsuit against fake news media outlets like CNN. Are you just going after CNN because although I haven't seen it yet, the fake news really started, I mean, I'm sure it started way before this, but where it really got bad was when Washington Post started up with the Russiagate stuff. I'm sure it's coming, but I haven't seen something specifically out of Washington Post about trying to label anybody that supports Trump as a Nazi, but I'm sure that's coming. Are you just going to go after every single news outlet that does it, or are you just going to hone in on CNN because of what they did in their previous reporting with Michael Moore and Don Lemon?
Well, I think that decision is one that will have to be made, but I think that honing in on one is much better, and I'll tell you why. Once CNN is put on Jump Street, it's going to send a message throughout. And second of all, newsprint anymore, I don't even know that the people that are following can even read. You know what I mean? Half of these thugs that are out there, I don't think they could read. And so I don't think that like the New York Post or the Washington Post, New York Times, those types of media outlets don't have the sway power.
Right.
And even though they're publishing a lie, it is not a constant bombarding of, I don't know that they are in cahoots with this Southern Poverty Law Center telling, having maps exactly where we're going, and following our every move. And so right now, I think it's just going to be focused on CNN. But it's going to be a little bit before we get this up and running, and it's going to depend on the people on Twitter and the other great Americans, because I won't go forward with it unless we have 5,000.
And there's no problem with that. We can definitely get some of our heavy hitters, some of the people that we're connected with on Twitter. Even Jack Posobiec. Just some of the big names on Twitter. We can definitely get them to help spread it. And certainly, you're holding up.
I'm holding up the senator. It was Senator Robert Menendez.
That's right.
From New Jersey.
Was he the one that was selling Obama's seat?
I don't know what.
Yeah, I think he was.
No, that was the guy with the hair.
Oh, that was the guy with the hair.
That was the Chicago.
You said Menendez, and all of a sudden I got triggered. I was thinking of the Menendez brothers. That's not a good one either.
Oh, what the heck was that?
He's a Democrat from New Jersey, and of course he didn't do it. You know that.
Of course not.
No, he didn't do it.
Neither
did.
So do you
know how the money got in his account? But
neither did O.J. Simpson.
Right, Joni. Do you have people in place that are going to be putting together your website for you in order for people to come and sign as part of their class action lawsuit?
I have not hired them yet.
So should we put out the call right now that if you're a webmaster or can design something like that? It sounds like a pretty simple website. All it's doing is allowing people to sign up securely and be able to be a plaintiff in the class action lawsuit. So
that's all it needs to have, and that would be a tremendous help, because you can imagine that just taking this on is going to be a really, really burdensome, because, I take on huge cases all the time, and a lot bigger lawyers than CNN will have it. I really mean that. So that doesn't scare me. It's just that it's burdensome, because class actions, and I'll have to, I'll get other good attorneys. I'm going to, I'll reach out to people like Jay Sekulow and people that have been, he's really eating the elephant from the other end, though. Yes. He is so busy right now. What he is doing is just unbelievable work that's really going to take down Clinton. I really mean that.
Oh, that sounds great.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe, isn't Jay Trump's personal lawyer?
Yes, he's one of Trump's personal lawyers. Absolutely. He hired Jay I think it's been a few months ago.
Right.
And listen, Jay has always been a real conservative warrior. And you talk about intelligence. He just calls it like he sees it, and it's not always for his good. I mean, for the good of. But he's a truth teller, and that's what we need out there. And if I could end by saying this, guys on Twitter, before you pass something along or send it to me or send it to another person, kind of check on it and make sure it's good, because the last thing that we want to do is go after CNN and go after these radical liars for making up unbelievable lies when we're tweeting around to 100, 200,000 people a story that we made up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, I 100% agree.
Really,
with
I really am. We just need to, I know we don't live in glass houses, but we need to make our houses as, foolproof as possible.
Right. I've gotten into big arguments with people over that same thing. I got into one. I told a guy he needs to take a viral article that he wrote about the Seth Rich case that was based on a proven debunked piece of evidence, and he just didn't want to hear it. He wanted to, and I was like, God, you can't do this, guys. You can't do this. And so I was really angry about that. So yeah, I 100% agree with you that we need to make sure that we put up is verified and factual and all that before we try to blow something up that's breaking news turns out to be false. So
because there's enough out there. I mean, my gosh, there's enough out there to defeat an army. We don't need to create something that then would just come back and just.
It's discrediting. It discredits us not just on that particular case and that particular news item, but then everything we bring up after that, it's like, oh, you're the guy. Like they try to say, oh, you're the Pizzagate guy or whatever. Whenever Jack Posobiec does something, he's calling early. Yeah, sorry about that. We got distracted by something. So anyway, speaking of feeding people, you put in all these hundreds of hours, and you have other people put in hundreds of hours. Are you going to need to do fundraising? Are we going to have to do a campaign where we send money to you?
I don't know. I don't know. I've been blessed in my life. I don't know that I can financially tote this whole one, but I'm not there yet, and I'm very, very.
So maybe we could help you set up something. Maybe we could set up something or help you set up something with like a PayPal or maybe a Patreon. Patreon's a little different, or maybe even
down
a
the
GoFundMe.
line.
Okay.
It's so funny. I'm a preacher's daughter, and I would always, even as a little girl, get embarrassed when they'd pass that damn plate around asking for money. I'm thinking, if the Lord wants the church here, He'll supply. Why do you gotta, so not much of an offering plate passer. But I do know that to be realistic, that to take all this on, at some point down the road. But what I want to see, I don't want to get the cart before the horse. I want to see if we can get the petitions first.
Right. So people have to sign that. We'll get the word out about that website, and people will be able to get updates from you by following your Periscope and Twitter, which is super important. One last time, it's at Joni Turner Law. That's JoniTurnerLaw. And also, if you're having trouble finding her Periscope,
I don't even know how you find someone on Periscope.
This is really simple. On your mobile device, don't try this on your computer because Periscope's weird like that. On your mobile device, when you go to your browser, which is where you're going to be on the internet, and you type into the address bar periscope.tv/Joni Turner Law, and that will pop up the actual screen that will allow people to follow you. That's the easiest way to do it.
HTTP.
No, come on. Oh my God. www. Yeah.
Just joking.
So,
Joni, this was an incredible insight. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you guys. I had a blast and so much good information.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
And we'll definitely keep you coming back. We'll have you back on updates, or even just to get your take on some of the news of the day, the week, the year, whatever's going on. So absolutely. Thank you so much, Joni.
Awesome.
It would be an honor, and you guys keep up the good work. I'm a big fan.
Oh,
awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, folks.
Now.
You're listening to Smith Radio with Brian Smith and Carrie Smith, and we just wrapped up the first hour interview with Joni Turner, a lawyer I wanted to ask her, and I'm thinking about it right now, but I forgot.
Now you have questions. Listen to Brian. Oh, my goodness.
What kind of law she studied, but apparently she's very...
it's called Kicking Down Doors of the Fake Deep State Mainstream Media Fake News. That's actually her degree. It's written on there.
Okay.
Just let you know.
She's got her business card, and when you flip it over, the description is on the back.
Right. It took several lines. It's like a fold-out. It's like a brochure.
So, folks, I had a lot of people all this week. I had a lot of people ask me, where was our show from last Sunday?
Oh, yeah.
And if you've stayed with us and you've seen some of Carrie's scopes and some of my scopes, you know already. But if you're watching for the first time since last week, and we didn't have a show up and running, it's because we were at the Dixie MAGA meetup. Car troubles on the way back, issues, and so it just didn't work out. We were supposed to have Paul Nealon on the show last Sunday. Apparently that didn't work out either, but we've got him slated to come back on. It's supposed to be in the third hour at 7 o'clock, so we'll see how that works out. We'll keep it posted. If he comes on sooner, if he comes back to the Skype sooner, maybe we'll do it sooner, but we'll keep it on that. So just because, and Carrie and I were talking about this, what are we going to talk about this week, this and that and everything else, just because we didn't talk about Charlottesville last week, because we couldn't have. Just want to go over a couple of odds and ends because it's been all week Charlottesville.
Right. It's been Charlottesville wall to wall, and they are dovetailing that with all these other supplemental things, and they've turned it into a big lie fest basically. And what they're trying to do, and it was so weird. It's like this was so out of the blue. We were doing Russiagate. We had the Brady Bunch, Marsha, yes. Just Russia. It was just nuts. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, we have a new narrative that just gets thrown at us. And it's not a coincidence that Russiagate is now completely gone. They're not even talking about it. They're not bringing it up. They're using this giant, crazy, dramatic story as cover because they're like, how are we gonna move on from Russiagate? We need to because it was a big hoax. And
not that they wanted to move on from Russiagate, but they're trying to find something that will bring down the president. How do we get rid of President Trump?
Right.
And how do we get the rhinoceri?
Is that the plural of
the plural of how do we get the GOP? I mean, they're already on board. They're paid in whole. And if you don't know, there is some WikiLeaks that have come out this week that starts to list out GOP senators, congressmen that were paid through Hillary Clinton super PAC that wound up in their bank accounts and their super PACs.
And this is part of Charlottesville?
Part of actions that they take. For example, when John McCain came out and blasted Trump, all of a sudden, within 24 hours, a large sum of money showed up in his possession.
Somebody said they're very disappointed with Sessions. I've
seen that a lot here on Periscope.
I know. And here's the thing: my initial gut reaction is wow, what a big bust that was. That's what the feeling is. But we don't know yet what all he's doing behind the scenes. And some of the people that I talk to, some of whom are either in the know or are in professions that, because of their professions, they are able to speculate on things that would make you very happy.
Right.
Because there's people that are telling me, well, I mean, he doesn't wake up every day and stay in his pajamas till 11 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And then decide, well, maybe I'll go to work today, maybe I won't. I mean, he's getting up and he's doing something.
Right, he's doing something, and that's another thing. The news isn't reporting on Sessions and what Sessions is doing on a daily basis. So we don't know, possibly something to come. And I'm seeing a lot of new folks on the show tonight, whether you're on the live message board on Spreaker, where we broadcast from. There's a short link to get that. It'd be smithradio.info. Smith is spelled with a Y, SMYTH. almost Smythe Radio, if that helps you to remember it a little bit better.
See, we fight it. We fight it.
Then we do. We're still fighting it. We're still fighting it.
Yeah.
And we're on Periscope Live at Brian P. Smith, SMYTH. And then Carrie has the Smith Radio handle on Twitter as well. Some really great scopes. He's been scoping. He says if he doesn't scope within 8 hours, he starts to fiend for another scope.
That's the weird thing. Like, before I started scoping, I was like, oh, gosh, I'm going to look like an idiot, which I do, but now it doesn't bother me anymore.
Right.
But, I mean, I was worried about that at first. I was worried about what I was going to say. At one point, somebody said, are you going to scope, Carrie? And I said, well, I don't know if there's any news today. And they're like, just tell us about yourself, man. And I was like, all right. So I got on. It was like my second scope ever. Well, after a week of dedicating myself to scoping every day, all of a sudden I'm like, I can't go. Like, after 8 hours, I'm like, I want to tell everybody about mainly it's reacting to crazy news that comes out. And I feel like I got to tell everybody what I feel about whatever happened in the news.
Awesome. I'm really happy that you love the scopes, and I'm starting to get with it, folks. I'm getting with it. I know that Carrie's been prodding me, cattle prodding me. And
yeah, we need to have Brian do more scopes.
And so the other day, I was so on edge, if you will, and I had an opportunity. I played hooky from work once again, and I had an opportunity to scope. I scoped in the truck, and it's hot here. So I had the AC on, and I'm like, well, I don't want to sit here and let the AC in the truck run too long because I don't want it to overheat. My muscle, by holding the camera, my muscle locked up. I got lock up because I scoped for an hour and a half sitting there. But anyways, it was some good information, a good talk. We had a great time. Periscope is certainly been very, very kind to us. And for those of you who are new, this is Smith Radio. Carrie and I were cousins. Carrie served in the Marine Corps. I was in the Air Force. And Carrie had at one time was a bleeding heart liberal and had a come to Jesus moment, come back around. Me, personally, I was a victim of society in my mind. I was a victimocrat.
But you were largely conservative from day one.
Yeah, I was always conservative, but my mind wasn't right. And I got.
I can vouch for that, by the way.
I got sucked into that blame game. Like I blamed, in my mind, I blamed other people who had stuff. Well, they had it because their dad had it. Oh, they got, he's head of a business because his dad had that business and good things, and he got lucky and all these things. And I'm broke and I'm poor because the society holding me down.
It's the system.
Right, the system holding me down. So I took a whole big jar of personal responsibility, and I started to drink
You slathered it all over your skin.
I went to Walmart and bought me a 6-pack of personal responsibility.
There you go.
So anywho, we've been talking, Carrie and I have been talking probably since 05, 06, where we would talk on the phone for hours and hours on end, 3, 4, sometimes 5-hour marathon calls where we would talk. I moved back to Cincinnati from L.A., and Carrie and I can remember the night where we were sitting there watching Mitt Romney have his arse glad-handed to him with Candy Crowley, and then we saw the election and how it started to completely fall apart, and we helped out in that campaign. Carrie helped out in the John McCain campaign, and right at 2012, Carrie and I had this moment where this is all completely falling apart. We're going to lose it all. And when they look back on this moment 100 years from now, they won't know exactly what to make of it. So Carrie and I started to do this show as documenting history in the making for our children, for our grandchildren, for other people.
We had to document the what happened to society.
The collapse, the falling apart, the coup.
Because we started when Barack Obama was in the process of dismantling everything.
Yes. Yes, if you go back, and Spreaker doesn't allow me to keep infinite amount of recordings. However, YouTube does. So go to the YouTube channel, Smith Radio, and you can go back all the way back the last 4 years and find stuff that we did. Now, granted, I'm going to be honest with you. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the hearts. Please like and share this. Help us get the word out. This is what we do, folks. We love to do this. We do this on our own time. Oh, and that's the other thing, too. Patreon.com/Smith Radio. For those of you who are Patreons for us, I'm from the bottom of my heart, thank you so very, very much. the Covfefe, special Covfefe Smith Radio coffee mugs. They will be here. UPS says they will be here on Tuesday. And if you are a recipient to receive a Covfefe coffee cup, that is a Patreon of $20 or more, you will receive your Covfefe cup. Should be sometime next week, maybe the weekend, depending on mailing and shipping and things like that. But it is on the way. Folks, if we had 5,000 people to send us $1 each, that'd be $5,000. That in itself could help us really make a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, do this. Even before then, and I was talking to somebody who was kind of mentoring me on this whole thing, the monetization. Right. And I said, way before we get to the amount of money that we need to be able to just drop everything and do it full time, I would drop everything and do it full time because I would see the momentum. I know we would make it. You know what I mean? So, we just need to get to that point where I feel like, okay, I think we'll be all right. And it's really important. And somebody just mentioned in the scope, thank you so much for reminding me of this. Cut the cable. Donating to your favorite Patreon people out there that are doing new media is going to save you money. It's going to put money in your pocket because you can cut the cable, save at least $100 a month, and use a portion of that to become a Patreon subscriber to your favorite new media people, one of which I hope is us. So, yeah, you want to do that. And a lot of people have actually taken the plunge and did that and donated to us through Patreon, which is awesome. And some of which, when we were at Dixie Mega, somebody was like, I have cable and I saw your scope and I just want to ask you, somebody literally asked me this, how do you cut the cable? You have to have step-by-step instructions.
No, you just get a pair of dikes and you...
Dikes?
Oh, sorry.
A dike is what holds water back.
Sorry. The proper nomenclature is side cutters.
Side cutters?
Yeah, wire cutters.
I never heard it called side cutters.
Or you could use a pair of tin snips.
Tin snips, okay. Use the tin snips, and now you want to call up your cable service provider to let them know that you're not going to give them any more money?
Yeah, you're not paying no more because I don't want to pay for Al Jazeera Today. I don't want to pay for CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC.
Exactly.
Even Fox. You don't need Fox.
So you cut that off, and then you save that money, and the first thing you want to do, I'm going to give you a little crash course here. The first thing you want to do is go to Radio Shack, or maybe even you can check on Amazon or something like that, and get yourself a powered digital antenna. And you want to hook that thing up.
We got ours from
Radio Shack.
No. We got yours. Where do we get yours at?
Oh, that was Micro Center.
Okay, and there are micro centers around America.
Okay.
Because that's where Shallon Gorman, our White House correspondent, picked up. She has a micro center there in D.C.
Oh, okay. So if you live near D.C., you can get the micro center there. And actually, Micro Center has a bunch of huge selection of different powered antennas, and that's what you need. And check this out. Here's a little tip for you. If you cut off of your internet, just cut it. You're no longer connected to the grid via your cable service provider, but your house is wired with cable. Check this out. This is going to blow your mind. You can hook up your digital cable in the second floor at the highest level you can by screwing it right into the wall cable thing. Your entire house will be powered with that one antenna.
Yeah, because your cable runs through the house.
Yes, and so your powered cable will power all the cable in your house. Now, you cannot do this if you keep the cable for internet.
Now we have somebody on Periscope right now that says that they keep the internet.
Okay.
But they also have the antenna, but it's not plugged into obviously their cable.
Now, originally what I did was I got my internet through Cincinnati Bell, which was the Fioptics, which is not the cable. That means my entire house, all the cables that ran through it, were isolated from the outside, which means when I hooked up the power antenna to the cable, the entire house was then hooked up to that power cable, and every single TV in every room will be able to get the signal from that one antenna. It was like $60, and that's high end. You can get a cheaper powered cable. So anyway, then you have all your digital local cable or your local channels in HD, full HD.
Yeah, Amazon Fire Stick, whatnot. I hardwired my TV with Cat 5, the regular. It's called Cat 5. Coaxial. No, not coaxial. It's just called Cat 5. And I plugged that in my TV. We got Amazon Prime, so I use that to watch the TV, different movies, different channels on Amazon Prime, as well as Netflix. We got YouTube to watch Mark Dice. I mean, dude, I'm obsessed with Mark Dice.
Gosh.
Is that a bro crush?
Well, yeah.
A man crush? What do they call that?
I mean, he's good. He's good. So, like what Brian was saying, I subscribe to probably about 50 of my favorite YouTube channels. And so at night, when I get home, I'm done with everything. I load up the queue with all of the latest videos that had come out from those 50 people that I subscribe to. I've got like 3-4 hours worth of videos. I fall asleep before I get through them all. I don't even get through them all.
Awesome. So, folks, you're listening to Smith Radio. This is what Carrie and I do. We've been doing this for 4 years now. You can find us all over the place. If you're an iPhone user like I am now, I'm an iPhone user, and the app, you got the Mac desktop. Love it, love it, love it. It's a paradigm shift, and it's taken me forever to get there, but I'm there now, folks.
I got an update about Paul Nalen.
Okay.
He may call at any time because he's traveling. He's trying to find a good signal.
Okay. So. He did call earlier. Had to stop the call. We'll wait for him to call back. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So no, you can find us if you're on. We're on iTunes. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on the YouTube, the Facebook, anywhere. We're also on Russian. Social media sites as well. Just Smith Radio, SMYTH Radio. Go to our website, smithradio.com. You can see all kinds of incredible information, as well as our White House correspondent, Shallon Gorman. Follow her on Twitter at The Real Shallon, Shallen. She lives there in D.C., and she is in the White House for us doing this out of the goodness of her own heart. She is also a lawyer. Love that as well. And she blogs for us, Smith Radio, on the blog site, blog.smithradio.com. But that's also on the website. You can see it there. Just go to smithradio.com. You see everything's all there.
Yeah, and thank you so much for all of your generous donations to Patreon. I think that is so cool that we're just slowly but surely building up to the point where we can actually put a dent on this. Brian is laughing profusely about something.
Kekistan Rose, 20 minutes of self-promotion. We're going to get onto the news. We're getting to the news.
Oh, do we have news? I didn't know anything happened.
Nothing happened this week. That's why I got to promote ourselves.
Well, here, let's go back to the Charlottesville thing. So we had Charlottesville, and it just seemed odd to me. Didn't it just seem odd?
It seemed odd out of the blue. It seemed odd in the sense that because these peaceful protests that they file a permit for, they're happening all over the country all the time. Every year, every day, somewhere, anywhere,
and
somebody has filed a petition to have a peaceful gathering.
And I heard that this was an annual thing for the Nazis or the KKK or whatever.
Yes, they regularly, not only do they regularly do this in Charlottesville, but they also did
all 6 of them.
Very similar situations around Charlottesville in other cities, but those didn't blow up. And there's a reason why.
Yeah, because they were still in the last throes of Russiagate.
No, the cops showed up and protected the other venues and to keep Antifa out. This one, the stand down call was given by the mayor, the vice mayor, and the governor, who are all direct ties. I mean, might as well be blood brothers with Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and John Podesta.
And here's the thing: we're not conspiracy theorists.
Nope.
In fact,
fact.
We like to either make fun of conspiracy theorists that are obviously going down the wrong path, or are peddling things that have been proven wrong, or just are pretty obvious or not wrong. But I'm telling you right now, there is a lot of very, very realistic and plausible conspiracy theories that are coming out about the Charlottesville thing, and it's a shame that we didn't get to talk about it at all last week because of the Dixie Mega traveling. We had to cancel the show, but just to rehash, I mean, it seemed odd to me. It seemed very odd to me how it went down. and there was a stand-down order given by the mayor, and the mayor basically said, you are not to make any arrests unless you specifically clear it with me. So if I have to put myself in his shoes, why would he say something like that? Why would the mayor of the city say something like that? So clearly he wants there to be pretty much a melee, but he also wants to have a little bit of a CYA situation where he will say, listen, I understand that something so bad could happen that you might need to make an arrest. But I don't trust your judgment because we need to allow this riot to happen. We need to make sure that the riot happens. So I'm going to start by saying do not make any arrests. However, if somebody's getting hacked up with a machete or somebody's, randomly spraying the crowd with machine guns or whatnot, and you got to make an arrest, before you do that, call me up and tell me why you want to arrest this person. And if I feel it passes the threshold of the need for an arrest, I may grant that to you.
Right.
That's what I think was happening. And that's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's
that's
lunacy.
Nuts.
Absolute
That's totally
lunacy.
crazy. So that happened, and now there's all these cops from Charlottesville are anonymously speaking out, and I don't blame them for remaining anonymous. But they're saying this is an outrage. Come on, guys. I know a lot of cops here in Cincinnati. I know a lot. I know SWAT team members here in Cincinnati. They don't want to be told that they can't do their job.
No, I mean, think about it. The entire police force is not in the Democrat Party. I mean, seriously, probably most, maybe half union members, whatnot. But besides that, even if they were Democrats, they love their country. A lot of police officers, former military personnel. Just real quick, I got pulled over the other day, expired tags.
Oh, my goodness.
But my expired tags, I have the Air Force emblem on the plate from the DMV. And the kid, he was a child. He was in training. He looked like he was 12. I'm like, what is this? Is this a ride-along?
Oh, it looks like we have Paul Nealon calling in.
Okay, so real quick, folks, we got Paul Nealon on the line. I know that we were scheduled to have him on in the third hour, but due to his travels and some things that are going on right now, he's getting to us when he possibly can. So we'll do a break in the show and pull him on. Paul Nealon ran against Paul Ryan in Wisconsin for Paul Ryan's seat. Wasn't successful, but has now launched a second campaign, if you will, to unseat Paul Ryan. Folks, we need to do everything we can to remove this Democrat shill, Paul Rhino Ryan. Absolutely lied to all of us during his run
multiple times
as VP with the Mitt Romney, who is also paid obviously by the Democrats as well. He's gone down in the tank. I mean, these two characters have fallen so far from grace. But we have Paul Nealon on the line. Paul, are you with us? Did that really just happen?
Oh, he was right there.
Sorry,
there we go.
Oh,
he had it on mute. Okay. Yeah. All right. How's it going?
Fabulous.
Awesome. So you are going for a second run at this, and can you explain? What is it that you're going to do differently this time? What is it that you think happened last time? And tell us about how you're going to get success this time.
Sure. Well, a couple things. The difference between last time and this time, I had 4 months the last time. I was in the process of selling a business I was a partner in, and we got that completed in April of last year. The primary was in August, so I had 4 months for which to stop the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and that's really why I ran. I've never run for office before. I've run businesses all over the globe, and we were successful in stopping Trans-Pacific Partnership. We got Paul Ryan to go on CNN with Manu Raju and say the deal needed to be renegotiated, and it's a longer story than that, but to get him to get up there after he was personally whipping the votes behind the scenes for Obama for Fast Track Trade Promotion Authority was a huge win. And as you guys know, the first Monday in office, President Trump signed us out of Trans-Pacific Partnership. So I mortally wounded it, and he finished it off. And between my race and 2 months ago when I announced again, I was campaigning against the border adjustment tax that Paul Ryan was trying to sabotage the tax overhaul negotiations with, and we successfully mounted a campaign to put an end to that. The Trump administration did not want the border adjustment tax, and I incessantly put out videos, wrote op-eds, had it published anywhere I could. I went on every radio or TV show I could possibly get on to tell people this was terrible. And
can you describe to people what the border adjustment tax is?
Yeah, sure. So Paul Ryan and his handlers came up with this harebrained scheme. It was a two-pronged approach. The first prong was we would treat all countries the same. And it's like treating your best customers like your worst customers. So the UK, Australia, Hong Kong, the Netherlands, countries that willingly buy more than the United States, we would treat them like China, like Taiwan, like South Korea, countries that buy far less than us from the United States than we're buying from them. I mean, China's the elephant in the room. And so the second prong of it was even more insidious. So let's say you guys own a pump company and you make pumps in the Midwest, and I make pumps in the Midwest, but I happen to be with a Fortune 500. The second prong of this border adjustment tax said, if you export product, you're going to get a 20% rebate on all the product you export. Well, let's say your pump business, you just sell pumps in the Midwest, but my pump business is also attached to a building products business that I sell building products outside the country by the container load, and I'm going to receive a huge tax benefit, 20% rebate on all of that product. The first thing that I'm going to do is lower my price of my pumps. You say, well, why would you do that? Well, because the government is subsidizing me. I'm not going to lose any profit. But what I am going to do is put you out of business.
Right.
And then when I put you out of business, I'm going to get monopoly pricing, and I'm going to jack my prices up. And all of the American buyers are going to be subject to monopoly pricing, and I won't have any competition. You know, I've run businesses all around the globe. I know how to do all this stuff. Other people know how to do this stuff too. The people who are putting money in Paul Ryan's campaign coffers, these big multinational corporations. I ran a Fortune 500. I worked at a Fortune 200. I know how those businesses think. And some are great. They would never think of moving a factory overseas to ship product back in the United States. And some look for that opportunity. Some look for the opportunity to screw the small and mid-sized manufacturers. And so I was on a crusade to stop it. So we stopped Trans-Pacific Partnership. I didn't win the seat. Paul Ryan kept his seat.
Well, he certainly made a huge run there.
Seemed like he was worried.
It did seem like he started dumping more money in it, GOP dumping money in it.
Oh, yeah.
And see, that's the biggest problem, folks. You're listening to Smith Radio, and we have Paul Nealon on. Follow Paul on Twitter. He's very, very active on Twitter, Paul. It's PNEHLEN, at PNEHLEN, Paul Nealon on Twitter. Mm-hmm. Very active.
One thing I like the way you described that was a very, very eloquently put way of describing the law of unintended consequences when it comes to government meddling in free market capitalism, right?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, I don't believe it's unintended. I think they were doing it for exactly the reason that I just suggested to you, and not a lot of small and mid-sized manufacturers would even think about that. And you know what? They shouldn't, right?
Right.
They should think, my congressman is working on my behalf, tilting the playing field in favor of America all day long.
Right.
America, period. Not big-size companies, not small-size companies, just America. Every time I hear somebody say, we want to level the playing field, I look at them like, why in the world would you want to do that? I want the playing field tilted for American workers and American businesses.
Right.
I want American politicians and American elected officials working on behalf of America, not on behalf of anybody else. There are Japanese representatives to work on behalf of the Japanese, South Koreans, Germans, Mexicans, Canadians, all of it. They all have elected officials. Let them work on behalf of their constituents. I want Paul Ryan and Kevin McCarthy and Kevin Brady and Mitch McConnell, John McCain. I want them all working on our behalf.
Lindsey
all
Graham.
Day long.
Don't forget about Grahamnesty. No, absolutely.
There you go, Grahamnesty.
When people say crony capitalism, I take offense to that because it's not. I'm a capitalist at heart. I've started a couple of businesses in the past. I've studied corporate structure and how to raise corporate credit, and I love it. It'll put most of y'all to sleep. That's why I don't talk about it. But I'll tell you what, Paul, it gets me fired up. I love it, love it, love it. It's not crony capitalism. It's crony socialism.
Yeah.
Because in a capitalist society, that kind of garbage won't fly. Not at all. And then you've got Walmart who's all in for this Obama health care, and you're like, why? They're capitalists and they're even Christians. Well, this Obamacare, they can pay it, but mom and pop shops or even smaller corporations can't pay it. So let the government weed out their competition.
Right.
That's right. It's the same thing with Amazon, right? Amazon wants everybody to have to pay state taxes and pay internet taxes because it's a nightmare to try to track that. But see, when you get so big that you can afford to have, 150 tax accountants working on this around the clock, that's their job, then Amazon's going to win again, right? Same thing with the FDA. You got companies like Abbott Labs. Abbott Labs brought in over 150 IT workers from a foreign country on H-1B visas. They told the American workers, this was last year, April, they said, you have 90 days, actually it was earlier in the year, it was February or so of last 2016, they said you have 90 days to train your foreign-born, less than skilled replacement, and if you don't, you're not going to get your severance payment.
Oh, that's terrible.
So Abbott Labs the jobs didn't go away. Those jobs are still in Illinois, right over the border from where I live in Wisconsin, my district. But 150 American IT workers lost their job, and they all had to compete with each other in this, little area. All of a sudden you got 150 IT workers all competing for jobs. What do you think that did to the wages of all IT workers in the general vicinity of that area? Right?
Probably fell through the floor, right?
Yeah.
Down. That's right. So then, on the other hand, what is Abbott Labs doing? They are lobbying the FDA for more rules because more rules keep out small innovators, right? You got to go through longer testing. We don't care. It'll keep out the small guys. It's insidious what's going on. And I applaud President Trump's team. When he was campaigning, he said, for every new regulation, we're going to cut 2.
Yeah,
right?
I remember that.
And, and he's up to 16. For every new regulation, they've cut 16 regulations.
Man,
it's amazing.
And we've been preaching on this show for 4 years, and we came up with this. We do these thought processes where we
thought experiments
where we kind of come up with things. And years ago, we kept saying, you know what? If we could make a rule or a law,
department, we wanted a department that was dedicated to slashing away all these old, antiquated laws that don't even apply anymore. That are just taking up ink and paper, it was just crazy. So we had been thinking about this for a long time. So when Donald Trump came along and started talking about that, we were like, yes, we've been talking about that.
Yeah.
So you say that you're the pro-Trump guy, and really what that means, what people out there need to know if they don't know this already, is that you are on board with his agenda to make America great again, right?
That's right. I'm an America First guy, and I believe that we ought to have an immigration policy that works for America first. So if that means we shut down immigration for a while. We don't bring anybody into the country. Let people assimilate, get things so that we don't have anybody streaming across our border. I am a strong proponent of enforcing existing immigration laws and building a wall. And the reason you have to have a wall, it's not like, well, we don't have to have a wall. A wall is necessary in order to be able to deport somebody. A buddy of mine, Dan Golvach, his son Spencer was killed in Houston, Texas. In Sanctuary City, Houston, Texas. He was sitting in his car, and a guy who was previously deported 4 times, spent time in U.S. prisons, rolled up and shot Spencer in the head.
Oh, wow. No.
And Kate Steinle's killer.
Right, Kate.
He was deported 5 times and spent time in our prisons. So you can't argue anything other than we have to keep our border secure and not let anybody else. And then you hear the argument, well, people come in on airplanes, they'll come in. Well, we got to protect on airplanes too. We've got to protect every possible way. We've got to use E-Verify. Businesses have to play a part in this. There's some regulations at the Department of Labor that have to be fixed, that if somebody submits bad documents, or you think that they're bad documents, then you can challenge them. That people can't, when right now there's conflicting rules within the Department of Labor and its subdepartments that big businesses will they're breaking the law or breaking the rules one way or the other.
Absolutely.
And we've got to square that away.
No, you're absolutely right. Folks, you're listening to Smith Radio with Brian and Carrie Smith, and we have a special guest, Paul Nealon, on the line right now. Follow Paul Nealon on Twitter at PNEHLEN, P. Nealon. Very active on Twitter. Love your tweets. Retweets a lot of Trump's tweets that are really good.
Yeah.
Make no bones about it. I mean, I feel like that we're in the fight of our life right now to gain our country back. And something that I've always, not always, but I've now feel I'm able to put it into words is that the American exceptionalism, the fact that America is the exception to the rule, the fact that the government is there to serve us, the people. I feel like the Democrat Party, I feel like the leftists, they are working overtime to destroy that entire notion. They want to flip that around. They want to make it just like Europe. They want to make it like just every other government that has ever been in all of human history, to where the people are subservient to the current government. And what do you think about that? I mean, that's just what I feel like what's going on right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. And thanks for putting my Twitter handle out there. I'm on Facebook too, at P. Nealon. My Facebook page is at P. Nealon on Facebook, and same thing on Gab. But I looked at the Boston Antifa page today, and this is what it said. There is no room for capitalists, conservatives, libertarians, in parentheses, classical liberals, or supporters of the U.S. Constitution in our city. You must leave. # Boston Resist.
See, that's absolutely
that is absurd.
Yeah, that's insanity.
Absurd.
I had to look up classic liberal. We looked that up a while ago. We are actually pretty much classic liberals.
Yeah, by definition, we're pretty much classic liberals. It's like libertarian with a pretty conservative slant. It's not exact perfect for my personal preference, but it's very close.
So when you want to, you're this Antifa is petitioning to remove literally, what, 70-80% of the entire all of America? They just don't know it yet. I mean,
They want to destroy the Constitution.
Yeah, I would tell you that there has to be 60 to 70% of America that if you sat down with each and every one of them and asked them about America, your love for America, your patriotism for America, I'm sure there's at least that much on both sides.
Yeah, I was on earlier with a station in Atlanta, traditionally black station in Atlanta, and conservatives, and they are just as angry at these Antifa people as we are.
Did you see what There was a tweet earlier today that said, "This is the strangest race riots I've ever seen. It's white people against white people." So it's really strange that, I mean, it doesn't appear. I don't know what they're trying to do. It's like this fake narrative. I mean, it's really weird, and the conspiracy theorists are out in force because they're giving them all this ammunition. It all seems very fake and manufactured to us. I don't know what you thought about it. But how about this though? There's this attempt to try to say that Trump is saying things that he's not saying. Like if you actually listen to the 16 minutes of Q&A after his press conference, you would say, okay, well, all that makes sense. But then it was reported on completely opposite of what he said, and they were trying to lie about him. And it just went on. And for a whole week, they're trying to say that he supports Nazis, he supports KKK. Are you prepared for the people who are going to be supporting Paul Ryan to come after you with accusations of being a Nazi
the
or a
onslaught.
supporter?
It'll be an onslaught.
I mean, are you prepared for that? Because it's got to be coming.
They've already done it. I was on a Reddit AMA, and they started attacking me on that. I was on the New Right, did an AMA there, and who is it that's attacking me? It's the fake conservatives in Wisconsin. It's the fake conservatives around the country who are in support of Speaker Ryan. They either like his fame or they like his fortune. He's got money flowing to them.
Right.
I call them the payroll pundits.
Wow,
nice.
Good one. I like that.
They are. Yeah, they really like that term, I have to tell you.
Payroll pundits. Awesome.
Yeah, the payroll pundits. So there's two formulas, right? If you look at the Boston Antifa, the very short formula for those guys, they decide that hate groups, number one, they decide hate groups don't have constitutional rights, and two, they're gonna label everyone they hate a hate group. Right? Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Circular reference there.
Right.
The longer one involves the media, though. The longer formula involves the media, and it's a 5-step process. I'll walk you through it. So they start off pretty innocuous claim: white supremacists are racist. Okay, we could agree with that.
Right.
Number two, the mainstream media claims white supremacists and alt-right are one and the same. That's where they make this leap into something that's absolutely not true. Then they say the alt-right is Trump's base. Now, you know what? I would say there's a lot of people who consider themselves alt-right, and there's all sorts of shades of who considers themselves the alt-right. I would put it in this one succinct definition. The alt-right is everybody who isn't the left and isn't the fake conservative.
The establishment.
Right?
The establishment.
People.
Yeah.
It's the people who are either Republicans or Democrats who are tired of this BS.
Right.
That's who I think the alt-right is. It's everybody who is not the crazy leftists or the fake conservatives.
Well, and just before you go on to the next one, there is a growing movement, probably people like Jack Posobiec and those kinds of people who are coming out and saying, listen, the alt-right, even Mike Cernovich has said the alt-right, the title alt-right has been so thoroughly tainted that they've made it very clear that there's a distinction between your alt-right and alt-light. Some of them call it alt-light, or some of them call it new right. And so they make a very distinct difference, because you got these people like Richard Spencer that just, I think, are doing more damage than good. But anyway, so I just wanted to point that out just to make sure that when that gets brought up that we're all clear on the distinctions.
Yeah, and so you say white supremacists are racist.
Right.
Mainstream media says white supremacists and alt-right are one and the same. Alt-right is Trump's base. Therefore, Trump's base is racist, and by association, Trump is a racist white supremacist.
Yeah,
and this is the media putting this 5-step circle together. So Antifa is, I think, pretty simple. They decide that hate groups don't have constitutional rights, and anybody that they hate is a hate group. So they are running off of these very succinct narratives, and it's information warfare for sure.
Yeah.
And so I think to label Antifa and the left, the alt left, is brilliant. I think it makes sense to stay in that genre and stick it to them, because they're like, no, we're not alt left. That doesn't even make sense. That's not a real. Well,
they don't like that, do they?
We're starting to use their tactics, if you will, in the sense that they love the name calling, they love the labeling of giant groups of individuals in order to, which would have, 4 or 5 years ago, when they started saying the Tea Party was racist, bigots, sexist, and homophobes. Then you got Tea Party members running for the hills, and it's all over with.
Yeah, they ran. They ran.
Now we don't do that. When I say we, not me, because I didn't run, but I'm just saying the general populace. We're sick and tired of the name calling, and so we realized once we throw it back at them, they get triggered and they freak out, and it's the Antifa, the alt left is. From what some people are saying on the ground, they're saying that there's some of the same BLM, Black Lives Matter leaders, some of the same people that were in Wall Street Move On.
The 1%ers or whatever, the
99%ers.
Occupy. Oh, Occupy. Yeah. That's what we were looking for.
Sleep on Wall Street until you're dirty and grungy.
Did you hear the tweet, or did you read the tweet from Marco Rubio that was calling for, or he was saying that violence against white supremacists, or what, I don't know the exact wording, but he basically said that it's justified and understandable to have violence against people that are exercising free speech for the most part.
Yeah, and he and Ryan and McCain and Romney all essentially suggest that there's no moral equivocation between the white supremacist, alt, whatever they want to label it, and these Antifa people. And nobody suggests, nobody in their right mind suggests that running people down with a Dodge Challenger is a solution. In fact, the guy ought to be locked up. And
sure.
I thought, when I first saw that they were going to take down General Lee's statue, and they renamed this park to Emancipation Park, and they were marching in there, I thought, well, yeah, we shouldn't be tearing down statues. This is insane. That is a way slippery slope to get on, and you don't want to erase your history. That just doesn't fly.
Well, you know who does that in regular fashion is the Taliban, ISIS, and Islam.
Course.
That's what they do to other cultures. They rip their statues down.
That's right, and so then you get this Kessler guy who looks like, it's starting to look now like he might have been a plant or somehow
that's
twisted around to invite this. Like, both sides of that fight were manufactured, and it's for the purpose of just igniting the country and undermining the Trump presidency. I mean, this all goes back to what was written by Rich Higgins, which is what McMaster fired him for. Rich Higgins wrote that 6-page white paper essentially saying, we've never seen this type of information warfare. And in fact, that 5-step process that I read to you earlier, that was part of the Rich Higgins analysis. And so it makes perfect sense. It fits really well. And if you look at interject what actually happened with this Jason Kessler character, and what happened in Charlottesville, and now we see all these sheeple up in Boston,
right?
Kind of following along with this. It is following that same path. So I strongly believe that they're not gonna stop at the monuments. The monuments don't even matter. The monuments. The argument on the monuments is to silence us, right? Because the argument is, if you support these monuments, you support the Confederacy, which is absolutely absurd.
Yeah, well, and also they're pointing out, this is revisionist. They're saying that, I've read this a million times. It's crazy. I can't even believe people are saying this. But they're saying that the Civil War was fought over white supremacy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Wow.
The whole thing is just.
I equated.
They attacked the Joan of Arc statue because they didn't even know what they were attacking.
Right, and I equated this to if you're going to tear down these statues because of slave owners or whatnot, and we talked about how Andrew Jackson, who was it that didn't own slaves, and they're still tearing.
General Lee.
General Lee
didn't own slaves.
Didn't even own slaves, and his wife inherited them, and a whole other world apart. By law, she couldn't let him go. All kinds of things that's history they don't want to know about. But if we're going to take down these statues because of slavery, we need to rip down the Great Pyramids over there in Egypt. Get rid of all three of the pyramids: Pyramid of Giza, Pyramid
there's
Khufu.
A bunch of them.
There's a whole there are a whole bunch of smaller little baby pyramids.
Yeah,
get rid of all of them.
Well, I guess the next thing I want to ask you is, do we have a good ground game now? I mean, kind of switching gears here. Are we going to win this thing? Do we have the steps in place to really take it after Paul Ryan? And also, I have people on the message board urging to fight fire with fire. And if there's one person in this entire political, this cycle that is going up for election that's going to fight fire with fire, it might just be Paul Nehlen. So there's people urging to fight fire with fire, not to back down from false accusations. I think that people are sick and tired of the name calling, basically, and the false accusations. Yeah. And so, what is it that you're going to do to translate what your message is into votes?
Well, a couple things. People can go to my election website. It's electnehlen, electnehlen.com, and take a look at my issues page. Donate if you can. Once you get past policy, there's two things that will get you elected: money and manpower. And Paul Ryan spent $10.6 million against me last time. I raised and spent over $1.5 million in 4 months last time. And I don't need $10 million to beat Paul Ryan. I don't, but I do need donations. We do need to spend money in the district. I am doing one town hall a week. I'm actually ahead of schedule. I've done 5 public town halls in the last 4 weeks. I'm doing one tomorrow opposite Paul Ryan's fake public town hall.
I saw that
hosted by. You see that?
I saw
CNN.
that, and I retweeted your tweet about come watch the fake Paul Ryan town hall or something that you had up.
Yeah. So we're going to restaurant, sports bar kind of place. We're gonna put it on. We're gonna chuckle at it, and then I'm gonna do a rebuttal afterwards live on Facebook, and I may do it also on Periscope. Just to say, look, this was not a live. I'll be interested to see. I've challenged some people. I just published a book. It's called Wage the Battle, and if you go to Amazon, check out Wage the Battle.
We'll link some of this in our show notes. We'll link some of this to it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'll give you a sense of who it is you're supporting. You could also go. There's a link. It's called WageTheBattle.com. WND, who's my publisher for the book, they are doing a bundle offer on the book and a DVD that I made. It's called Hijra, Radical Islam's Global Invasion, and it talks about why we see all these Muslims coming to the country.
Wow.
And I describe the refugee resettlement racket in the video and use some Islamic imams, their lectures to, these aren't my words. I mean, I've done a lot of study on this, and you'll realize that when you watch it. This is a learning experience, this video. But, getting out and talking to people in the district every week, multiple times a week, I'm having coffees with people. I'm meeting new groups who are then introducing me to new groups and new people and new family members. That's how you win it.
Right.
It's the grassroots. It's not the astroturf that the establishment uses.
Right. We're doing a campaign that we're just barely kicking off right now that is trying to get precincts filled with Trump supporters, with precinct committeeman positions. What are your thoughts on that? Is that how it works up there in Wisconsin? And it's just weird to me that it's just weird to me that somebody like Paul Ryan, who's going to have to fight a primary against you, is able to get so many people that are claiming to be conservative Republicans. They're just voters. They're just your average everyday people to come out and vote for him instead of anybody, whether it be you or anybody that runs against him. And it just kind of makes me wonder what's going through the thought process of your average Wisconsin voter, Republican voter, and what your thoughts are on really attacking those positions of precinct committeemen at the grassroots level by filling them with Trump supporters.
Yeah, we have to go around the news media because the local newspapers, local radio stations, they're all getting ad dollars from Paul Ryan, and that pays the bills, that keeps the lights on. So if they think, the next guy that comes in might not spend as much ad dollars, might not be profitable for us, might not be smart for us to do that, when you look around the country and you say, why do incumbents keep winning? Well, they keep bringing money home and spending it there. It'd literally be no different if I were the representative. Of course, I'm going to spend my money in my district, but I'm going to vote on their behalf. That's the difference. I'm not going to be bought off like Paul Ryan is by the pharmaceutical industry that wants Obamacare in place. That said, Paul Ryan, you are not going to bring a full repeal bill to the floor. Which God bless the House Freedom Caucus for working on this discharge petition that they're working on right now to go around the House leadership. Paul Ryan is working behind the scenes to defund that little bit of the wall that's in the continuing resolution. I made a video on that. I found out from somebody on the Hill, somebody ratted Ryan out to me and said he's already planning to take that money out. He's going to blame it on the Democrats and say they're going to shut down the government, and he's trying to save the day by taking the wall funding out, that little bit that we got in there. And so we've got to expose them. I think your suggestion to get committeemen in is a great one. Taking over the party, really.
Yes, yes, that's exactly what I call it. I call it that. I say we are going to take over the party.
Yeah.
And I think that's really key.
Has to be done. All those things have to be done. There is no silver bullet. There's no silver bullet. We are not going to pass one thing or do one thing. You heard Steve Bannon say it at CPAC. If you think they're just going to roll over and give us our country back, you're crazy. It's going to be a fight every single day, every single night.
Right.
They're around the clock working to undermine President Trump, and we need to support him. We need to defend him. If you disagree with him, you need to disagree with him. But by and large, I think most of the things that he's doing are good, and we ought to be defending him.
And we do that here on Smith Radio. If there's something that we see that Trump is doing or Trump is saying, then we'll definitely point it out. It's not that there were towing the line, carrying the water type of thing, but we're just very honest and very open about how we feel about the president, and we will say things and we will speak about it if it's not right. I was just looking online. You said that Paul Ryan spent $10 million last year?
$10.6 million on my race, and he spent another $9 million in the general.
Okay,
he spent almost $20 million. He spent almost $20 million, and 1% of it was raised inside Wisconsin. The rest of it, 99%, outside of our district.
Okay, and his salary went from an article I was just reading just now went from $175,000 to $223,000 a year. Mm-hmm. So you spend $20 million to get a job that pays you $200,000.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, if it's not about money and power, I don't know what it is. It's certainly, from what I've seen from these, it's really painful to say this, but even Lindsey Graham this week, quoting Lindsey Graham, he said, Trump's Charlottesville rhetoric dividing Americans, not healing them. I mean, it almost looks as if, looking from the outside, it almost looks as if the one party system that we have in play is starting to reveal itself. And it's extremely frustrating that that the Democrats and the DNC and the GOP working together, as we saw during the campaign run-up, where Ted Cruz gave Carly Fiorina, gave her money for her campaign, and then it comes out in WikiLeaks that Ted Cruz, Carly, John Kasich, and some others got monies sent to their super PACs from Hillary Clinton's super PAC.
And George Soros and all them. It was crazy.
It is amazing what is coming out. I'm glad to be alive right now to see all this and participate in it.
Well, hopefully you could
I'm
have an
fighting
impact.
on the right side of it.
Yeah,
Because
hopefully
they
you
would
have a
never
positive
write
impact.
about this stuff in the history books, right? I mean, it's got to be lived in real time to get a feel for it. You know, in the book that I wrote, I talked about it at the beginning when we were starting this interview that I ran because of Trans-Pacific Partnership. I should put that in perspective for your listeners. So, in 1985, the Free Trade Agreement, and I want you guys to hate that phrase. I want you to make everybody hate that phrase. Free Trade Agreement with Israel was negotiated. Great agreement. It actually is a great agreement. I'm not being smart. 13 pages long. And if we disagree with Israel or Israel disagrees with us, we can agree to disagree. Fast forward 10 years, NAFTA is invoked, 1,700 pages. If there's a disagreement in NAFTA, you're not going to your federal court. You're going to a tribunal. This thing's going to be adjudicated outside the normal court system. Fast forward 2 more decades. Trans-Pacific Partnership is 5,500 pages.
Wow.
There is nothing free about trade negotiated in 5,500 pages. Okay, so it really puts, and I talk in my book about the history of the GOP, the history of the Republican Party, the history of the conservative side of politics as opposed to the liberal progressive side. We were always about protecting our markets. We were a country of tariffs. Until 1913, we didn't even have a federal income tax. That didn't happen until 1913, and the government was largely funded off of tariffs and excise taxes, and we did great. And so I think it's very important that people get some perspective on this. And, I talk about Obamacare. I talk about securing the border. I tell the story of meeting Steve Bannon before I even ran. He kind of interviewed me, and I was interviewing him, kind of to get a sense of, could I do this? After my run and before the presidential election, I had the opportunity to meet then candidate Trump in Houston at a Remembrance Project event for the moms and dads who had lost kids to illegal alien violence. And I tell that story in the book. And, I go through some other scenarios that really draw out of the reader, hopefully, a desire to get further involved in what's going on.
Oh, man, that dovetails into what we're trying to do here, big time.
Exactly.
Big time.
Exactly.
And
oh, my gosh.
Well, just real quick, Paul, for those of you who are just joining us right now, you're listening to Smith Radio Live. We go live every Sunday evening, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern. You can go directly to the message board to listen to the show live. It's smithradio.info. We'll take you right to the show live Sunday evening. Or visit us on smithradio.com. We're with Paul Nealon, who is running for the Senate to oust. We got to oust Paul Ryan because he is not serving the will of the people.
Congress. Congress. Sorry, not Senate, Congress.
It's all right. House.
Yeah, House,
he
right.
mispronounced House. He pronounced it Senate. That's okay.
In order to help take back what is ours, because Paul Ryan is definitely not serving the will of the people. Paul Nealon definitely on board America First type of agenda, Trump agenda type situation. Follow Paul Nealon on Twitter at PNEHLEN. Also same on Facebook, and we will put links to your run for Congress. We'll put that link on this show. This will also be able to be listened to on iHeartRadio as well as any other platform out there on YouTube, Smith Radio. And if you are into, if you're into the iPhone, which I'm a new iPhone user, I love it too much. My Mac desktop, love it too much. You can get us on iTunes as well.
Great.
So,
fantastic.
Yeah. So, do you think there's any voter fraud going up there up there in Wisconsin? Because or is it just an education thing? Like you said, I know that when you're an incumbent, you're pumping a lot of money back into the system, and it makes you look good, as opposed to the challenger that's coming along against the incumbent. But is it an education thing, or do you how in the world does somebody like a Paul Ryan just get so many votes outside of the money that he's pumping in from the corruption or whatnot?
Yeah, well, he had campaigning for him the last time. He had our governor, the highest elected Republican in the state, and Reince Priebus both campaigning for him, fundraising for him, in a neutral primary. They locked me out of the county offices for my signs and all of my swag. We're going to fight that this time. That's not going to fly.
Fight fire with fire, big time.
And so, since 1970,
starting to break up there.
All right, if we can get Paul back, we'll get him back. It looks like
there you there. You kind of broke up a little bit. You there?
However, I am running to the right of Paul Ryan, decidedly to the right of Paul Ryan, and that seat's not his. That seat belongs to Wisconsin's 1st District, and for him to act as if it's his, I strongly believe in term limits. I believe that there shouldn't be anybody above the law, that if Congress passes a law, they ought to be subject to it, i.e. Obamacare, i.e. insider trading. I could go on ad infinitum.
Well, insider trading,
that Congress
trading
exempts themselves from, and that's not right. That I absolutely will not stay in the House longer than 3 terms. I will not serve more than 2 terms in the Senate, and I honestly believe that we ought to have one 16-year term at SCOTUS. I don't think it should be a lifetime appointment. People are there until they're failing. I applaud them for their service, but I think it ought to be succinct.
Well,
more succinct than it is right now.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg regularly falls asleep.
But I'm a strong believer in.
Can you hear us, Paul?
In the citizen legislator, the citizen statesman who goes, serves their fellow man, and comes back and goes to work. You don't have a lifetime of pension from doing a short stint in the government.
Right. Paul, can you hear us?
I can, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Good.
I think we had a little error there for a second. No, Ruth Bader Ginsburg regularly falls asleep in public, and it's just that it's too much. It's too far. It's too far being gone. I mean, even with Robert KKK Byrd that served. I don't know. Did he hit 100 years old when he served as a Democrat? I mean, this is when you talk about term limits. I am absolutely positive that the Founding Fathers, if they saw what was going on today, would be absolutely appalled that people like Paul Ryan need to give himself a 30% raise because $175,000 isn't enough. And, some of the richest – if you think about this, the politicians that we have up there right now are hands down the richest people in the world. If you compare them to the rest of the world – they are the richest people in the world. And you said before about insider trading. If you implemented that politicians would have to abide by the law of insider trading, half of them would be gone to prison.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking Nancy Pelosi, one of the richest people up there on the Hill.
Right.
Sorry, man. I get a little emotional sometimes.
Good.
Paul, do you think that you could get Trump to endorse you this time? And were you surprised when he, I guess, basically endorsed Paul Ryan the last time, which I thought was a little bit – we were all very disappointed in that. We were hoping that he would go to bat for you. And you actually handled it very gracefully at the time, if I remember. It was kind of like he's got to do what he's got to do. And what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think it was the right thing for Trump to do for the party. I wasn't happy about it. I was really upset for about 30 seconds, and then, got myself together and said, hey, it's more important that Trump won the presidency than I beat Paul Ryan, because if I had beaten Paul Ryan with Hillary Clinton as president, are you kidding me? It would have been a nightmare.
Right.
I would have continued to fight every way possible, but we're far better off with Trump as president, Gorsuch on the bench,
right?
Jeff Sessions as our attorney general. I feel like we are doing good things, and at the same time, I think it had an effect. I don't know how much of an effect. We were seeing very good results at the doors. We knocked a lot of doors. I lost 25 pounds walking the district last time. And
well, if you're saying that the reason he did that was because, and you thought it was the right thing, was for him to win the presidency, then it shouldn't hurt him to endorse you this time around.
That's exactly my thought.
It won't hurt him, but it will definitely show the people that
he's not putting up with Paul Ryan's crap.
Yeah, because you see what Paul Ryan's doing, the him hauling.
He was part of the coup right before the election. 30 days before the election, there was a big coup. I think it was a multi-state. There was Virginia and there was Ohio, and it was involving that Access Hollywood tape. And Paul Ryan was leading the charge on trying to get him off of the ballot.
Right, he was knee deep in that Access tape, the Hollywood Access tape, and it's insane how you see the Democrat Party circling the wagons for their own people, and you see the Republicans eating each other.
Circling the wagons for the Democrats.
Yeah, they circle the wagons for the Democrats to help them out. But even when Obama was president and Obama needed a bill, a budget, and Paul Ryan said, "Oh yeah, is that what you want? You want
blank check?
You want trillions? Okay, sure, no problem. Sign off, give you trillions of dollars to Obama.
Oh.
Who knows where all that money went?" And my whole point is, Paul Ryan is I'm just so, I guess I'm so angry because when he came here to Cincinnati, he came here by himself, campaigning for VP, and it was almost as if
they called him the Tea Party favorite.
Yes, he was the Tea Party favorite, and it was almost as if that's what they were doing on purpose to get us on board.
Yeah, he was a liar. He lied the whole time. And for those of you listening right now, we got Paul Nehlen on. He's going up against Paul Ryan, and I'm telling you right now, we know from firsthand knowledge that Paul Ryan lied to us. That makes him a liar, and I don't think we've gotten that from Paul Nehlen. So, if you're going to vote for somebody who's at least honest, you want to go that route. And if you're not from Wisconsin, you could go ahead and support him with donations. You want to go to electnehlen.com. Definitely follow him. Very active on Twitter. That's P. Nehlen. And sometimes I forget how to spell your name, and now I never forget because there's no A's in it. I always keep wanting to say N-A-H or put an L-A-N. No, there's no A's in it. It's all E's. It's N-E-H-L-E-N.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And if you're following us on Twitter as well, Brian P. Smith, Paul does follow us, which I thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
And Carrie is on Smith Radio on Twitter, and I retweet every time I'm on. If I see something come up, Paul, I usually am always retweeting what you're saying and commenting on what you say because I agree with you. You're a businessman. You've been in business most of your life, and the America First agenda. I mean, it's just it all plays in with our ideologies as well. So I'm very, very happy.
All right. Anything else that you want to say to the listeners as far as following and all that kind of stuff, or any last words?
I guess the last thing I'd say is, if you think that you can count on the House GOP to take out Ryan as Speaker, you are mistaken.
I agree.
There are a bunch of spineless jellyfish there in Congress,
right?
And they've got a guy who's standing out there. He's taking punches and doing the wrong thing for the country, and he doesn't really care. He's getting paid for it. He knows there's a K Street lobbying job, or there's any number of things that he'll go do afterwards. I mean, he married a rich Democrat, so he's got, millions in the bank anyhow.
Right.
So it's no skin off his nose. He wants to be president someday. You have the opportunity to help prevent that from happening. If you go to electnealon.com and make a donation, retweet me, go share my Facebook posts, go to Gab, re-Gab my stuff there. Tell your friends and family. Tell 10 people. What did they do? MAGA 3X? Do MAGA 10X for Nealon.
There you go.
And, that's really what it's going to take. We are going to have to do this. The GOP will never help me. That should be an endorsement.
Yes.
That should be a T-shirt. The GOP will never help me.
That's a good one. I like
go
that.
to electnealon.com and we'll get rid of Paul Ryan.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you for coming on, and we will definitely have you back before the election goes down.
Certainly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Awesome. Paul Nealon.
Wow, so
Congress.
We nailed both our special guests tonight, so it was an incredible show. They
nailed it. They nailed it.
Yes.
Awesome sauce.
We are getting down to the last 45 minutes of show,
so
folks.
To prevent getting yelled at by Kekstan Rose, we're going to get right back to the news. But yes, thank you so much, Paul Nealon, for coming on.
Real quick, Vox.com. VOX.com, just a hack website, a liberal propaganda page. They talked about, they wrote an article about Charlottesville, and I was beside myself. I was quite shocked.
I'd like to hear this.
The title of this article is Barack Obama is to blame. 13 Alabama conservatives on Charlottesville. It was quite stunning. They put 13 different people that they interviewed. They put all their comments all on this article, all throughout the article. The only bad thing that I kind of saw is that every once in a while when somebody would say something like this was Tom Cowles, age 61, said, Black Lives Matter activists quickly emerged as a top culprit in the bloodshed. And so here's what Tom said. Tom said, there's a lot of wrong on both sides, and unfortunately, all the liberal media talks about is the wrong on one side.
That came from Vox?
No, that came from Tom Cowles. But Vox made their own personal comment after him in parentheses. And apparently, Mr. Producer's got the notes messed up. But I remember that they did say, however, facts have shown that the violence came from one side. So other than that,
that's total fake news.
They did in parentheses.
You know what?
They made their own personal comment.
They're right.
They are, because they're doing it.
Okay, let me explain what Brian's talking about here. The violence is definitely coming from one side. On one side, you have Antifa, who's just a bunch of communists that are it's the militant version of communism.
Right.
That's one side. They're masquerading as anti-bigotry, anti-fascist, but actually they're just all pro-violence all the time. They're the ones that are justifying initiating violence because of what they perceive the other side to stand for.
Correct.
That's one side. The same side is sending in people dressed as Nazis and KKK. The same side.
Right.
There's Antifa that are supported by and led by and somehow tied in with FBI agents who are going in dressed as KKK and Nazis, and there's like mutual violence on both sides. It's all the same side.
Guys, you're going to hate me for this.
There's the same side.
But I just told Paul Nealon.
Yeah?
I will call it out if I see it.
What?
Trump, officially, wrong.
About what? What?
Violence on both sides.
Oh, that's right. There's two sides of
Put this down. Mark this down.
There's the Antifa / KKK / Nazis / white supremacists. That's one side. Now, you're probably saying, well, Carrie, the Antifa people are not KKK and they're not Nazi. You're right. they're dressed as them. They're undercover. They're undercover. So that's one side. And the other side are normal human beings that are either voting Democrat or Republican, but they're not in Antifa.
No.
They're not in the KKK. They're not in the Nazis. And they're not white supremacists. They're everybody else.
Right. So the Antifa, Nazis, white supremacists, white nationalists, all those groups that you saw battling it out in Charlottesville.
AKA Antifa.
AKA Antifa. All those groups there that Donald Trump said there's hate on both sides. Sorry, Mr. Trump. I told you from the very beginning I would call you out if I found it. And I'm calling you out, sir.
Sir.
Mr.
President.
Mr. President. I got to call you out on this one, man. There's only violence from one side because all the groups that were being violent are all Democrats.
They're all the same.
It's all
the
from
same.
They're all from the same party. The Democrat, liberal, leftist, socialist, communist, all of them.
What do they call it? Jack Posobiec had a name for it when you're role playing. Like those people are not acting like they're not.
What he's talking about, a safe word?
No. No, it's
He said role playing.
Yeah, they are they're literally acting out a role.
Oh, okay.
They're not being who they are in real life.
So somebody should have told the guy in the car what the safe word was so they could stop beating and breaking his throw a brick through his window.
He should have yelled out the window the safe word instead of
whatever it was.
Freaking out and slamming on the gas.
Maybe Kekistan Rose can give me a good safe word.
Oh, Kekistan Rose would give you a great safe word. So I wanted to read this. There's a couple Yahoo articles before Brian gets back to the because this illustrates what's really going on, and you're going to only get it from Smith Radio. Smith Radio is where you're going to get what's really going on here. So there's an article that Yahoo wrote about Falwell Jr., and he's defending Trump's response to Charlottesville. So for those of you who may not know, because it's been so long now, Donald Trump had very controversial remarks about the Charlottesville after he gave a press conference and 16 minutes of Q&A, which was basically him lashing out at the press, and rightfully so, because they are a bunch of liars and they are actually responsible for a lot of the violence. So he was signaling to everybody watching that he's not happy with them causing all this violence. But anyway, so in this article, this is on Yahoo, but there's a lot. You got to read between the lines. So Jerry Falwell Jr. is defending President Trump's response to the violence that erupted at a white nationalist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia last weekend. Quote, the only groups he identified by name and causing what happened in Charlottesville were the Nazis, the KKK, and the white supremacists, Falwell said on ABC's This Week on Sunday. That's what I thought was bold and truthful. Does anybody disagree with this?
No.
That sounds pretty accurate. That we're finally getting some truth here. Trump first asserted that, quote, many sides were to blame for the violence in Charlottesville. They were white nationalists and neo-Nazis clashed with counter-protesters during a rally protesting the removal of a Confederate statue. Heather Heyer, a 32-year-old legal assistant, was killed when the police say a 20-year-old Nazi sympathizer drove his car through a group of counter-protesters. I don't know who all those people were. Were they counter-protesters? I think Goldie, Faith Goldie was in there.
Okay.
She wasn't part of the counter-protest.
No.
She almost got hit by the car. Under pressure from Republicans and several advisors, the president made a second statement condemning the hate groups by name at the White House 2 days later. By the way, I'm going to throw this at you guys right now. He didn't have to name them the first time. It was pretty clear what he was saying. He just didn't want to name them. That doesn't mean that he meant something different. He just didn't name them. So the second statement did condemn the groups by name. But on Tuesday, a defiant Trump defended his initial statement, blaming both sides, both the neo-Nazis and counter-protesters for the violence. I think that's probably the most accurate way to state it, and I'm thankful that we have an honest president. So, quote, you had groups on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent, Trump told reporters, quote, and nobody wants to say that, but I'll say it right now. Thank you, Mr. President. Quote, I think there's blame on both sides, the president continued. Quote, if you look at both sides, I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. He added, you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. How are we misunderstanding this, Brian? How is that controversial? Do people not? I think they're purposely trying to confuse people into thinking that Trump was saying that there's very fine people in the KKK and there's violent people that are Nazis, and there are very fine people who are white supremacists. And that's not what he said at all. What he's trying to say is you have people that were protesting and counter-protesting that were in neither of those groups, the Antifa, the KKK, the white supremacists.
Especially like the girl who
Nazis.
was killed, the girl who was killed by the car. The mother came out and praised Trump and said, Trump, you did a great job. Thank you. But then MSM got a hold of her and pretty much put the pressure on her to – because the White House had made phone calls to her, or at least that's what she claims, and MSM has pressured her not to receive phone calls from Trump.
Now, this is going to make blood shoot out of wherever, Brian. You ready for blood to shoot out?
I'm starting to bleed
Romney.
right now. Oh,
Mitt Romney.
Hold on, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. That's the safe word.
Brian has to count to 10.
I need a safe word.
Brian has to count to 10 because I have a statement from Mitt Romney that will make blood shoot out of everything. Okay, quote. This is Mitt Romney's response to Donald Trump. One side is racist, bigoted, Nazi. The other opposes racism and bigotry. Morally different universes. This made my head explode.
Mitt Romney just supported and gave cover for the Democrat paid shills called Antifa.
They are the militant, violent, anti-free speech, anti-American.
Well, you heard what Paul Nealon said about them and their website. They said get rid of all capitalism, all you know, everything. And the one person put up on Twitter said, "Look at this one, screaming down with capitalism." Then gets on his iPhone and calls his girlfriend.
Yeah, and he said one side is racist, bigoted, Nazi. That's what he was talking about. People who do not want to see the statues ripped down. Did you know this week there was a poll done? And 70% of Americans, bipartisan.
They're okay.
They are bipartisan.
Partisan.
Yes. Asked whether or not they support or oppose the taking down of the Confederate monuments. 70% oppose taking down the monuments. Mitt Romney just called you a racist, bigoted Nazi.
70% of you.
He called 70%. And we just had Joni Turner on this morning saying that when you do that to innocent people, when you falsely accuse, and you got Marco Rubio, who is tweeting out that it is justified to perform violence on these people. This is why Joni wants to sue these people, and rightfully so. Not just Joni. This is class action. This is 5,000 or more people, and hopefully we'll have millions. I hope we have 6 million people sign Joni's petition to sue all these people, the mainstream media. We should be suing Mitt Romney for calling innocent people, 70% of America, racist, bigoted Nazis because they oppose taking down our history. It's our history. You don't have to like it. It's our history. You don't take it down. So 70% of the people, Mitt Romney is calling him Nazis, of whom Marco Rubio says you can go ahead and beat the hell out of those people. You could do violence against them, and it is justified. He used the word justified for that.
Well, I think it's justified that you no longer hold your position there, Mr. Rubio.
I think he should be sued by Joni Turner.
Yes.
I think he should be sued.
That's absolute insanity, folks.
Unbelievable. Your words are dividing Americans, not healing them. Oh, I got to do it in the right voice. Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham. Hold on, we got a call from Lindsey.
Your words are dividing Americans, not healing them. President Trump took a step backwards again in suggesting there is a moral equivalency between the white supremacist neo-Nazis and KKK members. Did I say too many Ks? KKK members who attended the Charlottesville rally and people like Mrs. Hare. And if you don't agree with that, you can go to hell. I'm just telling you. As Senator, I'm sorry, am I Senator? Oh, I am a Senator. Senator Lindsey Graham, I'm going to tell you right now that Donald Trump is just a bad person. I'm just telling you. But evangelicals like Falwell stood by the president. Anyway, so now you know what's going on with that. Check this out. Check this out. You guys are going to love this. So what are we doing here? Did you know that Donald Trump dated a biracial model?
Not possible. No, I don't believe it. He's such a racist.
Yeah, it's shocking.
Shocking.
He must not have known. He must not have known.
He was lied to.
Actually, she's
light skinned.
She's very light skinned. She has, whatever.
She's gorgeous. He was blinded by her gorgeousness.
Right. So check out she spoke out. Biracial model. This is the title of the article, and this is also on Yahoo. Biracial model who used to date Trump, quote, horrified by his Charlottesville remarks. Let me read this to you and see if Brian can figure this out, because I'm putting Brian on the hot seat. The biracial model who dated Donald Trump before he met Melania says she doesn't believe he's racist, but his remarks following the violence in Charlottesville has left her stunned. All right, quote. Here's the quote. I didn't hide my race from Donald Trump. He knew. Donald Trump knew I was biracial. Kara Young, her name's Kara Young, told the New York Times, quote, he would say, you're like Derek Jeter, and that turns me on. No, I'm just kidding. He didn't say it.
Oh, my God.
He said, I'm just joking. It's jokes, people. It's just jokes, people. Just jokes. He said, you're like Derek Jeter.
And that turns me on.
No, he didn't say, and that turns me on. And I would say, exactly. So that was the conversation. That was their whole relationship. No, I'm just kidding. So she told the paper that she never heard him make any sort of racist comments, but was left horrified by what he said about the deadly attacks in Charlottesville. During the campaign, the mom of two told the TV show Chasing News that the real estate tycoon is not racist. Same thing with Mike Tyson, who had business dealings with him, said he's not racist. Quote, I would never go out with anybody that was a racist. Of course not. That's crazy, she said at the time. Quote, everyone asked me. So apparently people are constantly asking her, oh my gosh, you're biracial. Is he racist or not? And she would say,
These
no.
people are so obsessed with race. It's
Right. So check this out. So the two met at a party in the Hamptons in 1997. At the time, she was a model gracing the pages of Victoria's Secret's catalogs and countless magazines, including Playboy in Germany. Young and Trump dated for about 2 years. In 2007, she co-founded the salon Hair Rules in New York City, where she lives with her family. In 2001, while Trump was dating his future wife Melania, he called into the Howard Stern show to praise Young. Quote, she's a wonderful girl. She's really a fantastic girl, he said. So that's the entire article. What is the key that's missing from this article? What caused this article? What caused her to be stunned? What caused a biracial woman that used to date Donald Trump, who said multiple times to probably thousands of people that he's not a racist, to suddenly be stunned at his remarks about Charlottesville?
She didn't hear what he said.
Bam! I knew I could count on Brian. Hold on.
I did not. I didn't wait long. I didn't wait long. I didn't wait long.
I'm going to play the first minute of this when he pulls it out and he says, here's what I said.
I wanted to make sure, unlike most politicians, that what I said was correct.
Yeah.
Not make a quick statement. The statement I made on Saturday, the first statement, was a fine statement. But you don't make statements that direct unless you know the fact. It takes a little while to get the facts. You still don't know the facts. And it's a very, very important process to me. And it's a very important statement. So I don't want to go quickly and just make a statement for the sake of making a political statement. I want to know the facts. If you go back to in fact, I brought it.
Here it is. He pulls it out of his pocket.
That's the speech.
As I said on, remember this, Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. And then I went on from there. Now, here's the thing. Excuse me. Take it nice and easy. Here's the thing.
Nice and easy, honey.
When I make a statement, I like to be correct. I want the facts. This event just happened. In fact, a lot of the event didn't even happen yet as we were speaking. This event just happened. Before I make a statement, I need the facts.
Instead of saying the police acted stupidly.
Right.
Which Obama did without knowing anything.
Well, because that's his MO.
Or that Trayvon Martin would be like my son if I had a son.
Oh, if I had a son, he'd look just like Trayvon.
And that he was totally innocent of anything, and that Zimmerman, all this stuff. We don't have a stupid-ass president.
No.
Like we did in the last 8 years.
I mean, this is a 60-minute press conference, folks. I will say it. I spoke with my stepmother yesterday at the kids' soccer field, and she said right after this press conference, a girlfriend of hers emailed her and said, "What do you think about that conference?" And I think she called her. He called her up.
Okay, all right.
And she's like, and this is from another state, from the other side of the country. And she says, so now, what do you think about what Trump said?
What do you think now?
Just out of the blue. Hello, how you doing, Betsy? Yeah. So what do you think now about Trump's statement? And the conversation went on, and she's like, I don't know.
Did you just dox Betsy?
Pretty much. And so my stepmother told me, she said, well, the conversation was so heated, I had to go back and listen to the full 16-minute.
Yeah.
And I emailed her and told her, never heard anything back from her.
There you go.
So shut it down.
So here's the MSM's modus operandi, the MO. And you gotta recognize this. You gotta say this every time, just like Brian did. I'm so proud of him. We did not rehearse this at all.
Not only did we not rehearse it, but Trump's sitting next to me. I mean, Carrie.
Yeah. It happens all the time.
Yeah. Carrie did not even know that that the producer had the Trump soundbite queued up.
Right. So, but here's the MO. Really important. They start by telling you a complete lie about what he said. What the MSM is telling the entire world, what Trump said in that 16-minute press conference, is 180 degrees opposite of what he said. It's a complete totally bold-faced lie, 100% lie. And what they do is now that they got the lie out there in the public, because not enough people are sitting back, going on to YouTube, finding the press conference and listening to the 16 minutes. 16 minutes is not going to kill you, people. I know we have ADHD. I know the world is just moving too fast to be wasting 16 whole minutes on a video on YouTube, but you gotta go watch it, because guess what? They're asking biracial models who dated Donald Trump for 2 solid years what they thought of what Trump said, and she's stunned. She's outraged. She is horrified. She's horrified at what he said. Why is she horrified at what she said? Because she thought he said things that he didn't say, because the mainstream media is lying to everybody about it. So that's the MO. They're hoping that more people listened to what he said through the lens of the liars at the mainstream media, the CNNs, your Washington Post, your New York Times. That's what they're hoping. If a majority of people got what they what was said by Trump through the mainstream media. Perception is reality.
Right.
He's a racist, bigoted, homophobic, mainstream Nazi, pretty much.
Right.
Total, full-blown Nazi. He is literally Hitler. Literally Hitler. And also he is a grand poobah whatever of the KKK, and it's now proven. And you got people like this saying, "Oh my God, I'm horrified."
I know Muhammad Ali, God rest his soul, he's been dead a year now. But was it Jesse Jackson? Is he going to take back the Lifetime Achievement Award from Donald Trump for assisting the black community?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much. And I'm sure even people like Mike Tyson, who people probably afraid to tell him that he's an idiot for whatever for any reason, because it's Mike Tyson. But
Right.
Mike Tyson's like, look, he's not a racist. I don't think he's a racist. He helped him out when he needed a venue for the fight against Michael Spinks, and he got it at the main building there in Atlantic City, and Trump made that happen.
Wow. What about Omarosa?
I met her personally, and she's really, really fired up about it. And I think she's got a position in the administration right now. And she's all fired up about him, and she certainly would not be pandering to a racist.
You would think not. You
Yeah,
would think not. But here's the level of lunacy. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say one last thing, because I want to drive this stake into the heart. Anytime somebody says, well, now we know that Donald Trump's a Nazi, you need to say, why do you think that? And did you listen to the 16 Minutes that is the source of everybody saying that he's supporting Nazis? You got to listen to the whole 16 Minutes. And also, you have to have a certain level of comprehension. You got to have a certain level of intelligence, and it's not that high. I'm talking, it's pretty low. It's a low bar to be able to comprehend that when he said that there were very fine people that were protesting or counter-protesting, he was talking about the people, which there were a lot of, who were not Nazis. They were not KKK members. They were not even in Antifa, but they were protesting or counter-protesting on one side or the other, and they weren't a part of these racist groups, and they weren't a part of these communist groups and these violent groups, and that's who he was referring to. And I thought it was crystal clear. Go back and listen to it. 16 minutes is all you need. And anytime somebody tries to pull that card out on you, you say, did you listen to the 16 minutes? And if they say they did, and they still believe that, one of two things is happening. Either they're too stupid to comprehend what he said, or they're liars.
Liars. And Vanessa, that's for you. She said she likes the way you say liar.
Oh, that was from Brian. Long time ago, Brian said that his neighbors in L.A. would pronounce liars. How is it?
Liar.
You're a liar. And I thought that was so funny because I could totally picture it.
That's like a Spanish accented lie.
Spanglish.
You liar.
You liar. Yeah, so every time I have to say that word, I say it like that.
It's hysterical.
So I hope I did justice to Lindsey Graham's accent. So.
Oh, they love that too as well. Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Just to expose the lunacy that is the left, the Democrats, the politicians. I mean, I'm telling you, folks, they're insane. And they honestly believe. Don't be upset and don't be wavered by this and don't think that anything else. And I know Steve Bannon left. I understand, folks, and everybody's been tweeting that out all night.
It's actually a good thing.
It is a very good thing, folks. Here's the deal.
He didn't get fired.
This is how insane they are.
Who?
Maxine Waters.
Oh, no.
This week, Maxine Waters, Ben Carson, neo-Nazi.
Come on.
KKK.
You got to be lying.
Beyond the shameless McCarthyism, which is what this is, and we've seen it before, we may have reached a tipping point, but there's also the absurdity. You now have Maxine Waters coming out and suggesting that Dr. Ben Carson, an African-American, is a white supremacist. I mean,
okay, this is soundbite. This is
who was talking?
The guy that's talking is he's a stand-in for Lou Dobbs.
Oh, he was standing for Lou Dobbs.
But
okay.
He's talking to Charles Hurt from Washington Post opinion editor, and Tammy Bruce will speak up just as well. It's great soundbite, folks. Listen to this.
I mean, come on, this has reached a point of absurdity, has it not?
Yeah, and that's why I don't really take any of it all that seriously, because I think the average voter looks at this and they just shake their heads and they think that they're now watching some kind of carnival unfold in the U.S. Capitol, and it's just absolutely insane. But Tammy is exactly right, and she hit the nail on the head when she talks about the fact that these people are not talking about Steve Bannon, they're not talking about Donald Trump. They're talking about the people that support them, and they're calling those people racists.
Yes.
And I can't think of anything more despicable or disgusting than looking into somebody else's heart and declaring that you know that they're a racist when there is no evidence whatsoever to suggest anything like that. And we're talking about a group of people, Nancy Pelosi, who has just discovered 15 years after she became Speaker of the House that they're Confederate statues in the Capitol, and she wants them all taken down.
Right. Suddenly she's surprised to find these Confederate.
To find out.
But Tammy, it's not just Democrats. You have Mitt Romney coming out with a long statement on his Facebook posting, essentially saying that everybody from the other side, besides the racists and the KKK, the people protesting, they were all peaceful. There was nothing wrong with them, when in fact the police chief of Charlottesville said they were mutual combatants. It was both sides.
It's a real shame with someone like Mitt Romney, who I grew to really appreciate and admire, to fall so far because of being defeated by someone who they just couldn't handle being defeated by. The fact is, this is why he lost, is a disconnection with the reality of what is going on the ground.
Yeah. No, that's exactly why Mitt Romney lost, because he was completely disconnected. Now, she said that she admired him at one point in time. I believe Tammy Bruce, I don't know if she was a full-fledged Democrat, but I believe Tammy Bruce might have been a little bit more, I think she was part of the feminist movement at one point in time. But it's definitely come to our side. And by the way, that was David Assman that was sitting in for Lou Dobbs. But I had to get that out. Folks, look at this. We've got Nancy, I've lost my glasses, Pelosi. She can't see beyond her own. Have you ever seen her lips and her teeth? And she's like,
maybe she didn't know that Ben Carson's black.
Well, Maxine Waters is black.
Well, but she's calling Ben Carson a member of the KKK.
And I did try and get the soundbite. I heard her little. It was like a town hall get together where she was speaking. And somebody with a cell phone, it was a good visual, but apparently the microphone was still a potato phone microphone.
Oh, if it's in a big hall and you're not really close, or you're not up against the speaker, if she happens to be speaking into a microphone with their speakers, loudspeakers on the side, yeah, it's going to be bad.
He was about 20 feet away from her.
Was she in a microphone? I
mean, she was in a microphone, and there was a lot of acoustics.
Yeah, you need to literally be right next to the speaker.
And I tried to get the soundbite for the show tonight because I do everything I can do for you folks. This is for you. But I had to make
I did this for you.
I had to make an executive call and say this would be horrendous, and you wouldn't really be able to hear it. But it's up on YouTube. You can find it. I'm telling you, the reason why they're not talking about Russia right now is because this feels better to them.
I honestly feel like maybe they had this in the can. They had this whole narrative in the can as an ejection handle for the Russiagate.
Oh, so this was the NBC grab him in the posse video, because they saved that.
Yes.
Towards the end, that was the October surprise. We're gonna come out with Billy Bush and Donald Trump talking about grabbing them in a posse, because you can when you're famous. They let you do it.
Well, the last thing that they had was that meeting with Donald Trump with the woman, the Russian woman that they set up, that they knew happened because they sent this woman. It was a sting operation.
Oh, Trump Jr.
Trump Jr.
Yeah, June
where
bug.
they sent in this honeypot, is what Rush calls her.
Well, and they also said that they found out later on that Donald Trump Sr. gave Jr.
marching orders or something.
And words to say, questions to ask.
Right. So they knew about this 100%
to the honeypot
for over a year, and it was the last big horror. It was after Project Veritas completely discredited the entire
dossier.
CNN. No. The Nothing Burger.
The Nothing Burger when they did
was
the
the end of it.
undercover Nothing Burger, right?
So here's what happened. This is the truth. You ready for the truth? The truth is that we all knew that Russiagate was fake. We all knew it was a hoax, but they kept going because they felt like they had traction. When Project Veritas ended it, it was over. Project Veritas ended it. They had one bullet left in the chamber or rolling around on the ground that they could put it. And that was this year-old story about the honeypot, the Russian girl, the meeting with Don Trump Jr. And that came out after the Project Veritas thing as a one. Here it was. They knew this was going to. They were saying we can't come out with this. This is going to hurt us.
Right.
This is going to hurt us.
Right.
But somebody high up on the hill said, yeah, but if we don't use it, this is over, and should we leave a round unfired? And they probably said, it's risky, but I think we have the round. We haven't fired it. We've been holding it for a year. Let's just fire it and see what happens. And that was that meeting.
George Soros, he left me a memo. He said if all bullets are not discharged, we will not receive full payment.
Yeah, so they had that last bullet, and they had to fire. They were like, we got to fire it. So they fired that last bullet. It gave us about a week of material to cover. Yeah. And after that, they needed an ejection handle. They needed to find something to eject with. So I think this race war idea was already in the can. They had the FBI on board because they were going to send the FBI agents out in Nazi uniform with Nazi flags and all that. They had to go and purchase the flags on Amazon. They were too stupid because people are what people are. FBI agents are human beings too. Right. They didn't think to drag an iron across the damn flag that they bought off of Amazon.
Right.
The Nazi flag. And did you hear about that? There's a picture of a guy with the Nazi flag that had clean creases.
Just pulled it out of the Amazon package.
It had these clean creases. The guy got doxxed, and guess what they found out? They found out that the guy had an address at a FBI field office.
Oh man!
Now, when I told my big brother this, you know what he said?
What'd he say?
He said, "You know what this sounds like?" And I'm gonna drag out a reference that we keep on making every week. He said, "You know what that sounds like? That sounds like that scene from the Blues Brothers." Hold on, everybody, hang with me. Everybody, indulge me. That scene from the Blues Brothers when they found out what the Blues Brothers' address was, and the whole police force, everybody goes out, and it was Wrigley Field.
Right. Right.
So now I'm glad he said that to me because, of course, I laughed, and I'm glad that he was able to give me another Blues Brothers reference, which we've been doing for a month now, apparently. Everybody's got Blues Brothers references. But it makes me think twice. Maybe, was this guy an FBI agent? Or did he give somebody the FBI office as his address somewhere like the Blues Brothers did?
Right.
The Blues Brothers entered their address as Wrigley Field.
Right, they gave the wrong address.
Yeah, so when they all showed up to the house, it wasn't a house, it was Wrigley Field.
That's hysterical.
Yeah. I thought that was funny when I told
you would
brother
have
the
to
story.
be so ready and on point to pull something off like that.
I think the guy...
if he's just a regular guy trolling the FBI, I think that's hysterical.
It's hysterical, but I don't know, man. Sometimes the shortest distance between 2 points is, in fact, a straight line. It's not always some crazy conspiracy theory. And it sounds to me like if this guy got doxxed, and in the course of doxing, this guy's got an address at an FBI field office, and he's got a perfectly creased up, unfolded Nazi flag amongst the KKK. This is the funniest part. He was around KKK members. Nazis and the KKK are two similar but different organizations. Why would somebody dressed up as a Nazi be marching alongside of KKK members? It's kind of weird. I understand that they were all marching in solidarity, but they would be separate. You'd have your KKK.
You'd have your one group to promote your group as Nazis. These are my boys.
Yeah.
My Nazi boys. I'm marching with them. I know you KKKs that got some ideas that's similars and stuff.
Yeah, give me fist bump and all that, but they're not the same organization.
I don't know you and you don't know me.
Right. So this guy's marching along KKK. It made for a perfect photo op, but if you look carefully in the photograph, it was a brand spanking new unfurled flag. This guy just bought this thing for this particular event, and he has an address at an FBI field office in Virginia. What is that?
That's good times is what that is, babies.
I'm telling you, I think this whole thing is they're all on the same side. They got the deep state in on this, which is the FBI, by the way. They got the DNC, Jason Kessler.
Right.
He was a hardcore Occupy Wall Street, Antifa-style Democrat all the way up until November of 2016. Now he's a leader in this KKK movement. What is that? What is that? This is a big old setup.
No, definitely it is. Laura Ingraham was sitting in for Tucker Carlson.
Oh, yeah?
This is kind of an older clip. This is about a week and a half old, but we haven't been here for 2 weeks.
Forever.
But I'm going to play this clip on purpose because it fits the narrative of what's going on, and it wraps up. And folks, we've got to take back the GOP. We've got to take back the party. We have to do it because it is clear as the day is long. There is one party.
Yes. Two, there's the Trump movement, and then there's the Democrats and Republicans.
The Trump movement, we believed, was the party of the GOP, and we're finding out
we thought
that they're not. So
yes.
this one-party system has to be divided in two-party system, and the never-Trumpers, y'all go to hell.
The never-Trump Republicans on Capitol Hill fear the most? No, it's not ISIS, and it's not a 5,000-point drop in the Dow, but a successful Trump presidency. Today is the 200th day of this administration, and despite the hyperventilation and alarmism we're hearing from the National Press Corps, they're prematurely declaring the Trump administration a failure, of course. But in fact, it's the resistance to Trump that is playing a risky gambit. Now, I'm talking about the resistance like Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, of course, groups like La Raza and Planned Parenthood on the left, and on the supposed right, Senators Jeff Flake, people like John McCain and Tom Tillis. And what unites all of them is their sad and rather pathetic fear and loathing of President Trump. So they want you so saturated in this endless and mindless Russia story deal and other irrelevant West Wing staff intrigue that's mostly fueled by leaks that you even begin to believe their negative spin. And let's face it, these people are happiest when his numbers go down, when his legislation and his confirmation stall, even if their own approval numbers go down too. It's like they don't even care. And by the way, their approval numbers have also gone down a lot. And Trump's approval rating may only be, about 37% according to one poll, but check this out. Tom Tillis's approval rating, North Carolina, 29%. Nancy Pelosi's, 27%. Chuck Schumer's is 26%. And Mitch McConnell's is a very impressive 17%.
You cut that off a little early. Yeah, and here's the thing you got to realize, because it seems weird. How could somebody with 17% win their state in their election? Well, I mean, it's like Kasich winning Ohio in the primary, and then Trump going on to win by 9%.
He won the entire state
in the primary. Yeah, Kasich won Ohio.
It's the only thing he won, and he thought he was going to do it. He was going to outdo Cruz. He was going to outdo Trump.
I think he was being paid. He's being paid by Soros and Clinton and all that.
And he's a Democrat. He even said I should have ran as a Democrat.
Yeah, he's a worthless whatever
bag of
whatever. But the point is that if you do a national poll on anybody in Congress, you're going to get 20s and teens.
Right.
But if you do a state poll on them, they're going to poll much, much higher, because there's this weird saying that goes on in politics where, damn them all to hell except for my guy. They're all crooks except for my guy. So every single state has these guys, and they're like, that's my guy, and we love our guy. But the rest of them, they're all dirty. They're all bad. So that's why Congress has like a 17% approval rating. And then each one of these people keep on winning in their state because for some reason that state loves them. It's just crazy. But Flake needs to go down. Kelly Ward, please, Arizona, please make sure that Kelly Ward beats Flake.
Well, who's running for John McCain's seat? I mean, he can't run again, can
Isn't
he?
it Flake versus Kelly Ward?
Okay, because McCain's definitely out, right?
Yeah, he's done.
Okay.
He's done. So, and he shouldn't run again. I mean, come on. The guy's, like, just be enjoying the last however long he's got.
Couple weeks.
Who knows? I mean, it could be weeks or months, but, I mean, my God. I mean, to run for a seat that's going to be several years when you have a brain tumor, brain cancer, it's just
Hey, did you hear Jack Posobiec made Fox News?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Come down. They want Lenin's monument to come down. A number of President Trump supporters came out to say that Lenin equals Hitler, and they want his monument taken down. You might call that the sublime, sort of the counter-protest to the ridiculous, perhaps, of now the U.S.
Okay, so that was Fox News, and the video in the background while he was talking... Jack!
Yeah, Jack led, and I've been watching his scopes. Of course, I always do. We're friends with Jack. And Jack had scopes from Seattle. He flew out there to protest a statue of Lenin, which we found out later was being discarded from the Soviet Union when they fell in 1990, I think was what, 89? It might have been 89 or 90. When the Soviet Union fell and there were all these statues of all these communist leaders, one of the founder pretty much was Lenin, and so they were getting rid of all these statues, and Seattle said, we'll take it. We'll take it.
We'll honor him.
Yeah, so Posobiec's like, wait a minute. If we're going to talk about statues of people who represent the death of millions, we need to be looking at these communist statues. Lenin, my God.
Right.
If you tie Lenin to all the people, if he's the founder of the Soviet Union,
right,
and he's
the founder of communism in USSR, right,
USSR,
right.
If that's true, and we already know that China became communist because of USSR, which gives us Mao, and then
Mao Zedong,
yeah, and
brutal.
also that led to Stalin, and that led to Kim Song Kim Jong-un. Yeah, Kim Jong-un, which was the first one.
The Kim Jong-il.
We have Cuba. We have Venezuela. All this stuff all tied. It all stems like a tree back to Lenin. You can make the argument, especially with Mao. You can make the argument. Yes, that's true too. You can make the argument that Lenin is responsible, either directly or indirectly, for upwards of over 100 million people killed because of him.
His ideology.
Yeah.
There are only two things I can't stand in this world. People who are intolerant of other people's cultures and the Dutch.
The Dutch? What the heck is... What was that from? I can't remember.
That's Mike Myers and the Spy Who Shagged Me.
The Dutch. Oh, that's right. I forgot one of Brian's favorite movies of all time.
This is painful. Yeah. And this really and truly hurts.
Oh my gosh. So anyway,
that's yours and my favorite, E. Warren. E. Warren.
So anyway, so that's the story with the.
I had something here that's gonna blow Carrie's mind because we don't have any time on it. Tucker Carlson takes on Bill Nye, the climate change science
That's
guy.
my wheelhouse. That's my wheelhouse. He's such a fake scientist.
Yeah, he. Oh man, you should have heard the debate between. Well, it wasn't Bill Nye, but it was a guy that was
supporting him,
representing Bill Nye, and kind of like holding the water.
Make sure you guys donate to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/SmithRadio in order for us to do this better.
And we're trying to make it to MAGA meetup out in California.
Yeah.
Socialist capital of the world. We will go to SoCal.
Well, we're trying to.
We'll give you details on that, and we'll put it all together, and hopefully we will get a GoFundMe page. We will help continue to make America great again, folks.
That's right. Don't forget to share.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.